Present. Present.
Limited to 3 minutes. The public can view public meetings on the city's YouTube page. Members of the public may hear the meeting live through telephonic conferencing using any telephone or cellular phone service. A smart device or computer are not necessary to participate in the meeting if you join by phone. All persons participating via the web platform will be muted during the meeting until called upon to be heard. Participation through Zoom requires a computer or smart mobile device with a microphone and web camera. The participant may elect to participate in the meeting using audio only or appear through both audio and video. The video function of all participants appearing through video will be turned off until called upon to be heard.
Thank you so much. We're gonna move on now to the portion of our presentations. However, I do see that there is a full house today and this presentation has brought up a lot of questions and a lot of concerns. So first, I would like to welcome everyone to the city of Hialeah. If you haven't been to our council meetings, I would like to address our mayor, our council members, our city departments, our legal department, and any other community member that's here today. I want us to remember that today is a presentation that we are having. We're not going to be voting on any items. We're just simply listening. I would like to remind everyone that our council chamber rules, we allow items to have 3 speakers that are for an item or 3 speakers that are opposing an item. We also would like everyone to have their concerns heard tonight and possibly addressed. I hope that when we have our presentation this evening, that if there's any concerns or any hesitation on the annexation, that hopefully it's going to be addressed. If not, I will give a portion of the meeting to comments and questions for anyone that still has any that would arise. It's important to understand, council members, the potential impact of this annexation to the community, including any potential changes to services, to taxes, and to representation. I'm interested in discussions on reasons for this proposed annexation and the potential benefits it could ultimately bring to all of us who are involved, right? It's important to approach this issue tonight with an open mind and a willingness to consider all perspectives. I also want to remind everyone how important it is to have your voices heard and your opinions heard. And I provided a member of our clerk department to go around and gather some contact information. If you have not submitted your name or your contact information, you would like to do so, please, we have some really lovely ladies up here that will, once we're done with the presentations, once we're done with comments and questions, they will happily walk outside with you and gather any contact information to make sure that we share that with the council members and we ensure that you are informed of any future meetings and possibly any participation in the upcoming meetings that we were to have. Ultimately, tonight, we're approaching this issue with transparency, with respect, and with a willingness to consider all perspectives in order to make the best decision for our community as a whole. So I would like to pass the presentation over. I believe we have from the Coronado Group that's going to give us a little bit of a report, and then from there, we'll move on to comments and questions.
Madam President, and City Council, my name is Eddie Ming. I am the Technical Vice President for the Planning Division. Oh, sorry, thank you. Sorry, let me start again. Mayor, Madam President, members of the council, my name is Eddie Ning. I am the Technical Vice President for the Planning Division at the Coronado Group. Thank you for the privilege of assisting the city in the analysis that we'll present to you this evening. I'm not sure how sorry, my first time here. I'm not sure how I would direct the next slide from here, if someone would do it for me, or if I have a, thank you.
Is it on the screen? Is everyone able to see it?
Okay, so this is before it is this. Oh, sorry. Point it. My apologies.
No?
Oh, pointed at. Okay.
Go back to where you
All right.
You prefer someone to do it for you?
Pardon? Oh, I think I got it, actually.
Okay,
Thank
There you
you.
go.
Right. Good evening. I know that on the screen, it is blocked by the Zoom. Thank you. But we want to know before we began that the square that you see there is an error and it should be taken out. And so I want to lead off with that before we began. I know there are concerns regarding that, but that was not intentional to be part of that. The background for this area, we were tasked by the city to analyze and produce for you a report regarding a just under a quarter square mile area which is contiguous to the city's southeastern boundary. It's generally bounded by 54th Street to the north, 37th Avenue to the west, Northwest 35th, 33rd, and 32nd Avenue to the east, and State Road 112 to the south, something we have vetted together with city staff in order to understand what the city was actually asking us to analyze. the city is, at the process of capitalizing the prime location to transit hub. This was the way to look at an area which had potential for creating a multimodal community for its constituents and surrounding areas. The proposed annexation area, from an analysis standpoint, the intention would be that it would be part of the city's plan to further develop a burgeoning entertainment district that would be adjacent to the city's east, and where the Market Station, TOD, Factory, Town Entertainment, and Leah District are developing and we could expect it to continue to grow. I would note that as part of this look into the background, we did have to coordinate with the county, and in meeting with the county staff, we would note that the proposed annexation area is actually constrained. The county actually told us that any future plans, whether we want to change the proposed annexation area, it would be constrained by the fact that there is a North Central Dade MAC and that the county is planning on expanding its CRA areas around. So while, we look at it and say, well, what does this entail? What it really entailed is we can contract these boundaries more west, but there really isn't room to expand eastwards because of what we've heard from the county. I will also note that the proposed annexation area can be adjusted and we can evaluate it based on the direction from the council, and we're happy to do so to provide you with updated information. Again, it's just a report to based on what we were directed to do so far. Now, the proposed annexation area that you see here is primarily industrial. Jason, the things we've mentioned, we noted that we had coordinated the county. Part of that is through the annexation process that's laid out by the county, we're required to do certain verifications, such as how much of the land used is residential and how many potential voters in the area there are. And so we ran through the process by actually asking the county for formal letters evaluating these verification items. Note that the land use is less than 50% residential, and the county certified there are 259 voters in the area. We note that the statement of reason, again, is the annexation from the city standpoint. The annexation will encourage high quality of life for businesses and visitors will remain throughout the city, and the existing proposed growth within the annexation area will positively complement the city and strengthen its long-term viability, and it would support the city's ongoing transit-oriented development goals. Note before, the land use is mostly industrial, but there's a large portion of it that is actually office in nature, or could be office in nature. There's a lot in that regard with transportation, communication, utility. About 2.5% of the area is vacant. In any annexation, we are required in an annexation study to look at what the zoning will be. The zoning is pretty similar to current county zones when we compare the city zoning to where the county is and how it might look in the future. Well, of course, that's subject to future determination by the city council. If annexed, you do have the ability to affect change within the district over time should that to be the council's pleasure. It is important here because we look at the services. Now, part of any annexation study analysis includes a financial analysis. And in that, we have to interview city staff to understand what the current cost of providing services is. We look at what the millage rate of the city is, and the fact that there are certain services, while they would remain in the county, most of them would transfer over to the city. And the city will provide most services immediately. These include items such as code enforcement, police services, and so forth. And the funding for these will have to come from various sources, mainly any property taxes, ad valorem taxes, the general fund from the city, and user fees. We do know for the record here that the first and second years will be a net budget loss, but we also want to caveat that. The cost, there are certain aspects to this, to what we had just mentioned. It doesn't include, because it's a snapshot in time, it doesn't include any potential natural appreciation of property value in year 2 and beyond. and it doesn't include any value associated from any rezoning or economic development program. It is particularly important here because we did note that this is adjacent to some district that the city are currently promoting, and which has undergone revitalization over time and could develop further. We also have to assume, because it is a snapshot in time, that the millage remains the same in year 1 and 2. The cost also doesn't consider the county will request a one-time fee to transfer. We are aware that has been an issue for some of your neighboring cities in their annexation processes. And of course, the city could also consider other streams of revenue the city would benefit from a result of the annexation, either permitting fees and other things that normally fund the department. Here, a scope of our analysis is limited because of the nature of a study. We are required to just look at what you can provide on services and the cost associated with that. And from a funding standpoint, look at things from an ad valorem taxes standpoint. It is mentioned there, the net budget losses are based solely on the property tax revenue. And with that, that concludes our brief presentation.
Do you mind going back to the map,
Yes.
please,
Oh, sorry.
that shows the annexation? And I just want to clarify where we made a correction on the first initial map that probably everyone that's here today probably would like to know as well, what's
Sorry.
excluded from there, from the
Sorry.
initial map.
Let me get back to that. I apologize.
I believe it's, yeah, I think you just.
Yeah. Sorry. The very first page.
I believe it was
Yeah.
further
The-
down,
the-
right?
Yeah, so do you see the,
Keep
well, I
on.
can go to the map. One.
It's the one that's no, after, the map after. That one.
Right, so we've
So-
noted that in that as well, that
Is
portion
this-
is struck out.
So what, so it's no longer on this map?
It should no longer be on that.
So can we just clarify what was there before that's no longer there?
In this map here, that was the RU1 single family residential area adjacent to Northwest 33rd Avenue. It's a block of nature, includes I believe a church. That was never intended to be part of the boundary, and so we are striking that from the analysis and updating the analysis and returning that to the city.
Okay, so in this map, the area that is the lighter green with the purple inside, that's the R1 single family home area that's still included?
Believe that, right? Yes, right. I'm not sure if I'm pointing to the right area here.
The purple rectangle.
purple
that you
is-
see There, that doesn't belong, it's out of the annexation, it's not.
So that's not part of the annexation.
Right, the
Okay.
purple is.
That is a block that is mostly residential, and I believe it has a church and was put there by mistake.
By mistake.
And now that will not be part of what we are.
So the part that is within the perimeter is the green and that brick orange that's on the
Exactly.
bottom?
Yes.
right.
And then the other adjacent square that's green as well, but the
exactly.
purple's out.
Yes.
And everything obviously that's within the red proposed boundary line, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct, everything but the
Um,
purple.
so with that being said, I think that might help clarify some concern. Do we have any council discussion or questions at this time?
Through the chair,
Yes, sir, you're recognized.
just not really just questions, but just some comments. I know that that we've received a couple of phone calls in the last couple of days. Well, good evening. Hope everyone's doing well. All right. So I just want to start off by saying a couple of things. I'm Jesus Tunduro. I might have spoken to a few of you in the last couple of days. You know, we as a city, as representatives of the city, it's our job to continue to find alternative ways to make the city better, generate additional revenue, and figure out how we can expand on services for folks that need them. And I can tell you that one of the things that we've spoken about many times here in this council is that the one thing we will never do is increase taxes, right? So we look for other ways to better revenue and better
Sir,
services.
ladies and gentlemen, I started
So-
off the meeting with asking for respect and silence. Please, I understand that but let the councilman finish, please.
So I say that to tell you how we got here, right? And so incorporation of land isn't something new, right? And I think just this year we saw the city of Sweetwater also incorporate an industrial site, and other municipalities have done the same in the past. And the city of Hialeah, I believe 15, 20 years ago, also incorporated an area out west that we have some representatives here today. And so in understanding that, it's our job to, at a minimum, have the conversation, right? Today we're here. This is purely a discovery phase. It's gathering all the data that we can. I mean, we just saw the bill on this, right? Of $4 million a year for the first year, and then $1 million after that. It's not very attractive to the city of Hialeah, right? It's a lot of money. It costs money, and those are discussions that we need to have. Maybe we might not even move forward in that, right, with that decision. But I want to be able to address a couple of things, because I know there were a lot of concerns, a lot of things that were said that were hurtful, and I just want to make sure that we're on the same page, right? First and foremost, the single family home residential area was never intended to be included in the review of this analysis, right? You know, it was strictly the industrial. So we do apologize if again, folks saw that the single family home area and the church were included in that scope. That was not our intent. That was a mistake. So that's been cleared up. Number two, it was not, and it'll never be our intent to break up any type of community, break up any type of historical preservation, heritage. We understand what that means, right? We understand what that means, and we will never do that because we don't like it when they do it to us. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page with that. And again, this is, you know, if for some reason we were to decide to move forward as an administration and as a council, we're talking about this is step 2 out of 250, right? And so I want to be very, very clear with that. Our intent is to continue to schedule any group meetings, bring in the business community within the boundaries, bring in the residents to have a conversation and understand what the problem is. And if you have any concerns, any fears, I think this is the best forum to address them, right? Out in public. And so I want to end with that, and I look forward to hearing either from colleagues or from you all once we open it up for public questions and comments. But just know that we're not here to blindside anyone. We're not here to ruin anything that we've been a part of for a long time. We're here to work with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And yes, I think that clarifies the map issue. I think was very important, the scope, and who would be affected by this. I don't know, Mayor, if you wanted to add to.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, welcome all of you to the chamber and to the city of Hialeah. I think it's important that we couch for everyone's edification of where we're at. And we're in the we are literally in the crib from a standpoint of analyzing an area of which I could tell you personally, I'm not 100% sure it's even in the best interest of the city, right? Because there still needs to be a deep dive in this area of what it may need as far as road services. My understanding, perhaps, as many of the industrial area there is on septic tank. So all these are challenges that we need to be mindful of. It's also very important to signal that if there are residents within the area being studied, my understanding is that there's a threshold within the residents of that area have a vote. Okay, so I think it's important to understand that and be able to couch that. I think it's clear that an area that I think may have was done by error, and because when I went out one of the times with Councilman Tondador, just want to make sure I pronounce it right.
They used to say you can tune the piano, but you can't tune the door.
So I do remember one time going out and speaking to business owners out there. It was pretty clear that with the exception of, I think, 2 trailer parks in the area, those were the only residents that obviously would have a say if they meet that threshold on voters. I am, from my time on the county commission and being able to work very, very closely with Commissioner Edmondson. Okay, I'm very sensitive, obviously, to Brownsville and all the work that she's done in that area. And so it is very clear to me that we're not going to do anything that's going to somehow or another drive a wedge into a community or separate. We're not going to do any of that stuff. We do need to go through our due diligence. We have an obligation to go through our due diligence. And there's still a lot of balls up in the air as to what services are needed in that area. Can we render them? Obviously, a very preliminary report shows a loss. I can tell you right off the bat, this is a city that can't afford losses, right? We need to be in the green, not in the red. And so that's why I think it's important to understand we are in the very initial stages of just scratching the surface of something that may not be in our best interest. Obviously, the county has a role in this, and the county commission and the administration may say that there's a dollar amount in order to transfer land. So there's so much that's unknown that, quite honestly, this study probably hasn't dived into yet, that needs to dive into it in order for us to be able to better understand and better appreciate. And at the beginning of this whole thing, there has to be a question, and it's really a question for the residents that live in the trailer park area and the business owners in that area. Is the county servicing them to the nature that they expect and the adequate nature? I don't have an answer for that. Okay, that's a dialogue with business owners, with residents as we go through this. And again, reminder, if the threshold of duly elected residents or that are, have the ability to vote, if they meet a certain threshold, then they have to vote on this. We could say we want it, I think we could promote the heck out of it, but they're going to have the say in this thing. So, and I don't know if we're at that threshold or not, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know what the number is, 250, 363 or 350. I'm not really sure what it is, but I think it is clear, and I concur with the council member that, the area that I do know sparked some concern is out. Is not part of this study. And you're welcome to be part of the study, but you're not in the study. So I think I think everybody should just take a pause and understand that. So it's an ongoing conversation which may lead to nothing, quite honestly. And I think just keep that in the back of our minds as we are talking about this. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. That's really important to consider. Thank you, Mayor. Is there anyone else that would like to, council members would like to join in the conversation?
Through the chair.
Yes, sir, you're recognized.
I'm sorry, the gentleman that was presenting, I forgot your name. Eddie.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. By the way, we do have a backup of this PowerPoint that was just sent to all of us. So if anyone wants to refer to it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I just wanted it. So I'm looking at not the PowerPoint, but the actual report itself. Wanted to see if you can kind of walk me through it a little bit. I'm on page 71 of the report. So this was my biggest concern when looking over this, and it said list of services to be provided. And it goes into the first section, which is police. I guess, can you kind of give me an idea of what were some of the factors that were used in determining, because it's saying here that it would cost the city something like $2 million to service this area, just the police portion of it?
On this area, we actually asked your police department to provide us an estimate of what it would cost to service the area based on what staffing they believe, based on current factors and current knowledge and data with her occurring in the area. So that the data that you see here on page 71 is from the Hialeah Police Department in their estimate.
So this was in conjunction with the Hialeah Police Department's assessment of, or was this strictly Corradino?
No, they did police staff, or your police department providing us with the information for this report based on their understanding of the area and the services needed, the staff needed.
Yeah, because here it's saying it's an estimated 1,738 calls for service per year. And it's recommending additional 2 officers per shift for 3 shifts, 12 sworn officers total, 12 firearms, 12 vehicles, 12 mobile radios, 12 mobile data terminals, 12 body cameras, 12 tasers, plus other capital and operating expenses totaling $1.9 million. And then, so page 72, it says fire protection. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you came up with some of these figures?
Similar to how we asked relevant staff and police department to provide their estimate. We did the same with a fire.
Okay, so here it's saying something along the lines of the recommendation is to purchase an additional 107-foot truck, a Pierce truck, Quint fire truck for $1.3 million. Additional rescue truck, and an additional Ford Ranger, or several actually, 3 additional fire lieutenants, 6 additional firefighters, 2 additional fire inspectors. Total costs $2.65 million to the city. Okay, so and then so I'm going to page 73 of the report, and it's a little bit short, but it's talking about the pump stations. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Could you
Section
refer-
D, facilities for collection and treatment of sewage.
Right. The did note that the Miami-Dade Water and Sewer Department currently serves the annexation area. They collect, the sewage, and then that includes 3 pump stations. Note that the county is in process of expanding this the pump served area. We know that because on annexation, the area in question was transferred to the city. That indicates to us that because the county has invested in the area, and because there are certain infrastructure that may be transferred, the county may negotiate certain fees. We do not know what those are at the time because it is very preliminary in the process. But we usually note these as a requirement of such assessment, because that provides you as the council with understanding that there may be additional fees beyond what you may expect, because to upgrade some of these facilities, the county is investing a lot of money in the initial, in its services.
Well, let me ask you this. How long did it take to compile this study?
It normally takes about 4 to 6 months, and a lot of it is because we need to not only do due diligence in meeting with the county, but we also need to go back and ask the department to provide their information, and then recompile that and look at the numbers and compile the information.
Right, but this specific study was authorized when, or when did you guys start working on it?
We were provided the authorization in late June of last year.
Late June of last year.
Right.
Okay, so you've been working on it for 10 months, and 10 months of work, we're able to basically get this, which is, as far as the sewer goes, it's looking like it's 3 pump stations, 1, 5, and 103, but there's no explanation as to cost or servicing these stations, what that would look like.
We provided the draft for review to the city in November. And this was originally previously scheduled for an earlier meeting. While we have provided some update, we're limited in the scope that the city provided and number update. We have provided an initial final report earlier in the year, pending presentation, which had been that had been pulled from the agenda previously. So we have been scheduled to report much earlier than April.
Now if I go to page 74, there's a recommendation here to hire two additional code enforcement officers, presumably to service this area.
That would the estimate provided by your building department. By looking at it, through my experience, I serve as the interim community development director for other cities, and serve in health staff. That looks appropriate for the area and when I reviewed this,
Okay,
given
s-
the acreage and so forth.
Right, so. And then there's also on that same page, page 77, or, yeah, moving to page 77. It's talking about street lighting, so there's apparently about 55 street lights in this area. Is there would there be, as part of this study, any analysis of how many of those would need to be serviced or what the costs associated with that would be?
We were asked to provide a little bit of scope to the city, proceed with additional look at annexation. We would have to analyze that further. In addition, this would actually be one of the items that we hadn't know initially, because like with the pump, there are some negotiation aspect with the county that the city would have to consider. We had to noted for you, particularly for due diligence purposes, as something that past the preliminary report is something that could be something that you have to reevaluate down the line.
At this point, or I think you mentioned since November, have you continued any analysis or are you kind of waiting on us?
We had to wait more for your decision
Hmm.
on where to proceed. Normally a scope for that annexation study costs a lot more than what we have were provided for the city. And the intent of that, from our understanding was that you want a preliminary study so that the city, if it decided not to proceed further, you're not wasting money on a deep level analysis where you're not gonna go forward with. Instead, if you're on the preliminary basis, it looks like initial go, then some of these items would have to be evaluated more in depth.
Understood. Okay, so page 79, I think this is the high level. I guess the biggest takeaway. So it says, if you can explain this to me, it says annexation area year one, net loss of $3.8 million to the city. How did you come to those numbers?
The net loss come from the summation of what you see in the prior pages regarding everything from capital cost and personnel costs. It is an aggregate amount here, so that's why you see that that number changes from year to year. If I refer back to the presentation, we know that we didn't, it's snapshot in time, right? So there's no property appreciation involved in there because it's just, we don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
And so forth. To sell property, it changes.
Mhm.
If it's not homesteaded, like for example, the things like that. So it is an aggregation of both the
So there-
capital costs.
So there it says that there would be an additional revenue as part of these costs, right? After we've done all our expenses, there would be a revenue of $856,000 additional to the city.
So in that, we have to, how we come about that analysis is we actually have to take property tax, the appraiser's office and look at the value of the property at that snapshot in time. And we have to apply your adopted millage rate as we understood it at the time. Obviously, your millage rate may change, but again, the preliminary analysis is a snapshot in
So
time.
assuming we kept our millage as is, the residents of this proposed annexation area would be paying an additional collectively $856,000 a year in taxes.
It would be to collect the properties within the annexation area. So that's a combination of both any residential property that there or a commercial industrial property. So it is a combination of
Right.
all of those.
But even collecting that additional almost $1 million in taxes, we'd still suffer a net loss of almost $4 million as a city.
That is our snapshot in time analysis. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Eddie, can you tell me what exactly, because I don't think you answered that. What exactly is that loss? Is it the investment back into the community?
So let me put that up again. Sorry, I just.
Because I know there was a loss, but
The
was the loss considering
There's a lot include one-time capital purchases that Councilman Calvo had pointed out in the prior pages involving everything from the equipment to for our police officers, if you have to hire additional sworn staff, or the fire truck, for example, that was noted. So there's a capital cost, and then there is the operating cost. The operating cost is you pay salaries every year.
So
So
the
there's a combination
increase,
of both.
the increase in services, the increase that we would have to incur in employment.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. And then why would, what's the change for the following year? Why does that go down to one?
That goes down to 1 million because of the sheer level of one-time capital cost that would be incurred to equip staff correctly, whereas the fire truck, which is a very
Maintain it.
to acquire and maintain. There's not that maintaining, it's the acquisition that is a major driver of that capital cost.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else up here with any concerns? No. Okay, at this time, thank you so much, Mr. Eddie. Deborah, did you want to add anything to that? No, okay. At this time, I'm gonna move on to our comments and question portion of the night. I would like everyone to feel heard and understood. We will have, like Councilman said, this is step 2 of probably 200. So we will have many meetings upcoming if this is something that we will move forth with. But I would like to try to see if we could condense it to 3 who are in favor of this item or 3 who are opposed, right? And then we're gonna see if that's how our meetings run, right? That's the rules of the chamber. And if we have any additional concerns, like I said, we have gathered contacts and information and names. So if you would like to step out at the end of this meeting and submit your contact information for us to reach out to you, we would gladly love to have your information and keep you abreast of any upcoming meetings that we'll be having for you to participate. Okay. Sir, I think you got here late. Okay, you got here late. Okay, thank you. Okay, sir, calm down. Calm down. Just take a deep breath and go outside. All right, thank you, sir. All right, step outside, please. All right. So, ma'am, if you would like, you could go outside as well too. All right? You need to calm down. You've been here many times and you know the rules of this chamber as well. Okay. So therefore, we will have, who has raised your hand if you've submitted your name that you wanted to speak on the item? Who was someone that was for the item? Anybody for the item?
Council President, point of
Anyone,
information.
give me just 1 second, sir. Anyone who is opposed to the item? Okay, from those hands that are up, who would like to speak on the item that has submitted their name to our clerk office? I had said 3. Is there, from those that have their hands up that are opposed to the item? Okay, after our presentation, who are 3 people that would like to speak on it? And if we have more, you could come forward, line up right here. I would like everyone to feel. Give me just 1 second. Miss Leal, where's Bridget? Bridget? She got some names of people that were interested in talking. Okay. So the people that were opposed the item that wanted to speak on it are right here? Okay. Yes,
Council
Mr.
President, just a point of information. It's been a long-standing history for probably 50 years in the city of Hialeah. Under comments and questions, it's a point in time where the community comes together and addresses their grievances to the council. This is not an item before you and vote where we need to select 3 people in favor and 3 people against. This is a point in time where the community needs to be heard, and I urge you to hear them.
We are doing that, Mr. Johnson, as you can see.
I do.
Yeah.
But we can't. we can't say under comments and questions, we're only going to allow 3 in favor and 3 against on comments and questions. If it's on
Unfortunately,
the item,
I understand, but this item is gonna come before the council plenty of times today. This is just a presentation. We're not voting on it, sir. And we're going to have many meetings to be able to discuss this item.
I would hope that you would let everybody who would like to be heard, be heard.
That is exactly what I'm
Okay.
doing. That's why they're lined up right here, sir. Thank you
Perfect.
so much.
I will start if you don't mind. Eric Johnson, Hialeah Firefighters, Local 1102. This is more so not for the commission. This is for the members who are here that took the time out of their lives to come here and vent. I represent the firefighters in the city of Hialeah. We don't represent the politics. We don't represent annexation. We represent nothing like that. We represent people. We don't represent them by color. We don't represent them by origin, their hair color, their eye color, the language they speak. We represent you as living, breathing human beings. On behalf of this fire department and this police department, no matter what happens in the future, your community needs to be advised, and they need to know that we will gladly give our lives for you with never knowing your names, never knowing your families, never knowing your pets, knowing nothing about you, because that's our job and that's our commitment. I got phone calls this morning from some members in your community with racial comments. I don't tolerate it. I don't see color. I don't see skin. I don't see names. I don't hear languages. We will give our lives for you on behalf of the police and the fire department. That's our job. It's our commitment. Whatever happens in the future, don't you ever doubt this city's commitment to its residents or people in general. That's what we do.
Good evening, sir. So
Good evening.
we start off with our name and address for the record.
All right.
The clerk writes it down and we have a timer for 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Ken Kilpatrick, President Brownsville
I'm
Civic.
sorry, repeat that.
Kenneth Kilpatrick, President of Brownsville Civic Neighborhood Association, 5167 Northwest 29 Avenue.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Go ahead.
So I come here tonight on behalf of the BCNA as well as the resident stakeholders of Brownsville. We are opposed to the proposal to annex a portion of the Brownsville community. For many decades, Miami-Dade County and US HUD recognized the model city's neighborhood revitalization strategy area, which included all of the warehouse and the industrial district within your proposed annexation map. That means that the operators of those warehouses were eligible and likely benefited from the economic recovery dollars and resources that resulted from the model city's area designation. That designation is as a result of the extreme poverty and resulting deterioration of our quality of life that residents of Brownsville experienced to the east of your annex area map for several decades as well. Brownsville is therefore opposed to any municipality who would stand to benefit from the economic potential of that area before Brownsville did. We would also like to point out that the history of Brownsville is significant and that annexation is viewed as a threat to that history. As we look to traditionally African-American communities in the city of Hialeah, we're looking to Seminole as an example, and we see that that community appears to be gentrifying. We've talked to homeowners, which you guys have addressed already. So we are asking you to re-examine your proposal carefully, taking into consideration the potential for great economic harm that will result from this annexation. This would be especially disheartening after all the resources that the industrial district may have enjoyed off the backs of the residents to the east who suffered greatly in that same time span. Your plan also proposes to finance your public lighting systems of this area by way of the Brownsville Lighting Special Taxing District. This too is a miscarriage of fairness, as the low-income residents to the east would be asked to finance the weight of a potentially lucrative redevelopment district in perpetuity and without a return on that investment. So we'd like to thank Pastor Hinton, others, NAACP, even Mr. Tunidor, who had a brief discussion with us yesterday. And we're hoping to see some of those adjustments made, just pursuant to what we briefly talked about. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your input.
Thank you, Madam Chair, to the mayor and commissioners. I want to take this opportunity. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to come and to share our grievances and dissatisfaction on this item. Let me just say that I come tonight as the first vice president.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, just your name and address.
Ja-
for the record. Yes,
James,
thank you.
James Bush III, former state representative, District 109, 4900 Northwest 30th Avenue in Brownsville. Again, just briefly, I come with our president just have stated pretty much our grievances on this item. I have, as a resident of Brownsville, as a taxpayer, I have received numerous of calls, especially from the senior citizen community, and they have some great concerns. I want to make a suggestion, Mr. Mayor, as you said, we are at the discussion stage, at the beginning stage, and I want to appreciate your comments. You kind of cleared up some of the things and concerns that I've had, but I would also like to have a meeting scheduled to come to Brownsville, come to our community where we can have the residents to have an opportunity to come out and share with you how they feel about this measure. And we can talk about the different aspects of how this annexation process take place. Because when you talk about this, we're looking at what kind of economic effect it's going to have on these residents who are pretty much are catching the devil, just trying to live from day to day. So if we can have a meeting, and I'll just limit my remarks and statements, if we can have a meeting scheduled in our community so the residents can come and be a part of it, I will appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're not here to be adversarial, but we do have some concerns because a lot of the residents who called me did not know about it. And they felt that that was a kind of like a slap in the face. So as you said, we're open for discussion, and that's what we want as you continue to evaluate and look at this process. And we might, and if it might be where we don't have to do an annexation, we can just, and if we can be a part of this and we can benefit financially, then we're open. But if not, but we first have to sit down and have a discussion and get all of the players at the table. And I think that we, from the indication of this group tonight, I think that we can do that if we can meet each other at the table and we can have an open, transparent discussion. With that being said, Mr. Mayor, thank you and thank the commissioners for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And absolutely, I think, moving forward, I think it's important so we could have ample time so everyone could be heard. If everyone would like to speak at that time, I think it's important to hold some kind of forum in the future where we could have that discussion. Absolutely, I agree. Yes. Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Harrell Hinton, 4561 Northwest 33rd Court, the senior minister of the Brownsville Church of Christ. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Once said, "Our lives begin to the end when the day we are silent about the things that matter to us." We are here today to talk about the unfortunate desire to move into the community of Brownsville. Our historic community, loving community, strong community, and God-fearing community has a concern. I am appreciative even tonight for you have stated that you have removed the church and the residents in that area out of the map. And I do believe that God is pleased. My thought is that Brownsville needs all the economic gain that they can get. We are here today because we're just tired. Tired of the idea that anyone can take advantage of our community. We're tired of finding out that we are not appreciated, that we are just a number, not families, not churchgoers, not hardworking fathers and loving mothers. Council, we are tired. Our presence today is not because of a church. or a neighborhood, or because we live in Brownsville, it is because we, the people, demand respect, consideration, and care. If then thereby this is approved, I know it's just a discussion tonight, the question then arises, what's next? We're here to stay, and we are here to demand our city commissioners to revitalize. I want you, council, to just consider this thought. Consider Seminole. Once they were taken over, they went down. We shall overcome someday.
Good
Thank you, ma'am.
evening, sir.
you,
Name and
Madam
address
Chair.
for the record, please.
I'm former Representative Roy Hardeman, 1292 Northwest 79th Street. I'm here to stand before this commission to ask for what I'm gonna call a reprisal. Because the Model City Advisory Board is a 7.3 square mile neighborhood. And it's sort of supposed to be protected by federal HUD laws and stuff, but clearly it's been overlooked. Even though you took the houses out, it's like putting 2 chickens in a cage and don't feed them. Taking the income out of that neighborhood further will further exacerbate us eating each other. I don't want to be a cannibal. I want to be a human being. And I would love for you all to take a step back, because this has been coming along for a long time. City of Hialeah is a great city. We trying to get 103rd in Liberty City, but everybody's beating on us. We want asking to stop the beating, stop the bloodshed, because it makes me feel like America against Napoleon. We have to stop the fighting. It's about land. It's about our lives. And here I'm just getting, it's almost would say fed up, but the city of Hialeah is actually trying to make a county of its own. We might want to be a part of the county, city of Hialeah County versus Dade County, because Dade County haven't shown us the respect to build that industrial park that bring resources out of the 80 riot. The 80 riot would post on what's going on right now, the same day when McDuffie riot was sent up to Tampa, Florida, where the 5 police officers was acquitted for no wrongdoing, and it was what would we call it? The brothers of the brothers in Tampa that freed those officers from killing this man that caused such destruction in our community. I don't want to repeat the same. I want to join hands, continue to work with people, love our neighbors, and please love us. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Madam President. Brian Dennis, address 2140 York Street.
Good evening, sir.
The street that bears Seminole from traffic to traffic light has my uncle's name on it, Mr. Steve Marshall. Now, I know that might come as a surprise to some of you all, but the way that Seminole was once inherited has my family's history all over it. Compared to what it was when I was a child, to see where it is right now, it's completely a different story. That when you are taking over something, there's something that is told from us, as we've heard the old folks say, when you're sick and tired, you become sick and tired. When the same game keep happening, and what you all are looking at is $1 in revenue, what you are beginning to do is cut out those that matter. When Miami-Dade County calls on HUD and they begin to get the dollars, that helped them put out CDBG grants and different things like that, and they administer the different CBOs. They do it from the standpoint of the Model City Economic Development. They do it from the slum and blight, part of the US Census that determines Liberty City. Since May 1980, Liberty City, Brownsville has not looked like May 17, 1980. But yet it's still the county continues to benefit from it. I understand that the mayor said that he served with Commissioner Audrey Edmondson. When we look at the Commissioner Audrey Edmondson, she has did a disservice to our community, regardless of what regardless of what anyone says, when you are the chairman of Miami-Dade County, of the Miami-Dade County Commission, your job is to see that not only do your district represent, but the county itself represented. And what we have saw is a slowly taking out of our community. The housing projects and things that once stand from Overtown to Liberty City are now out of there. When you talk about low-income housing and you talk about affordable housing, there's nothing affordable about affordable housing. So when you look at taking over an area which 37th Avenue actually floods down, and you're talking about pump stations, Commissioner, Madam, Mr. Councilman, think about that. Do you know that there's a struggle going down 37th Avenue after a major rain? The potholes and everything that are on 37th Avenue. So you're talking to someone that knows, because I used to work for IWS, the garbage company. The number one thing was years ago was for them to take over the area that was once known as the club, as the bar, called the Tree. And once you slowly took over the Tree, you began to push your way eastward toward the boundaries that you wanted. No means no. Enough is enough. This is where it stops. And let's do the economics here in my closing. If you're going to go in a hole, annexing something that is going to put you in a hole, do you actually think making $800,000 a year when you are spending $3.2 million, which would then drop you into a $4 million hole, is worth the price? Think about that. If your manager allows that to happen, I don't want you doing business with me.
Good evening, sir. Can I have your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Ruben Young. My address is 1398 Southwest First Street, Miami, Florida. I stand today as a candidate for Miami-Dade County Clerk of Court, and I'm just going to say this to you. I attended the meetings. I heard the cries of the people. I heard that a lot of the people here today reject this plan because of the fact that, you know, it's backwards. Most of the time when you talk about county government, there's a protocol. When you talk about master plans already being placed, there's a protocol. And most of the people from the meetings I attended said that they was not informed. A lot of the property owners that are here today said that when these discussions began, they wasn't even informed. Now, and I say this respectfully, Mr. Mayor, I say this respectfully, councilman, council ladies, councilmen, this would be an insult. It's an insult and slap in the face of the people that's coming from this historical landmark. My brother just left and he said that it's respect. Well, we deserve respect because you see what's going on in our communities. Land grabbing, gentrification, not enough jobs. People don't have the opportunity to even work in our community, paying us these low wages where everybody progress and move forward with their own agenda. You can understand and hear the frustration today. I'm frustrated. I'm angry that this process, when you talk about protocol, the process was not done correctly. And I'd say this respectfully. And I hope you can see that this is respectfully. I respect this body of leaders and councilmen and councilwomen that's trying to move forth an agenda. But it doesn't start with just here in Hialeah. If we're going to talk about having a partnership, that partnership must be a strong partnership, like Representative James Bush just said. We deserve that. You want to make this fair, which I reject the plan, but you can talk to me. It may be something that's mutually beneficial because we don't get the respect that Miami-Dade County provides. We don't have no accountability in Miami-Dade County. And if this is what God wants us to go toward, then respect the people in the neighborhood. This is our land. This is where we live. This is where we work. This is where we raise our families. And this is where we will die if necessary. So guess what? Come on to our community. Talk to us like human beings. We're not 3/4 of a human being. We're a whole human being. And you can talk to me. You can talk to Roy Hardeman. You can talk to Representative James Bush. And you can talk to all the people sitting in this room today. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Edward Robinson.
Thank you. Chief, it's the second time. If she does it again, please remove her from chambers. Just for you to know, and I'm sorry if you felt insulted, when we put an item on a presentation, it's not sent out through the Herald, it's not sent out through anything. However, If this would go to further discussion, if it's a voting item, absolutely. The residents of that neighborhood within the boundaries would have been informed. Okay, so I apologize for any miscommunication. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My
Name
name
and
is
address for the record.
Edward Robinson. I live at 1975 Northwest 179th Street, Miami Gardens, Florida. And I have relatives live over in the near area that's going to be affected. And what are you doing over the long term of this? You're not going to lose any money. You're going to make money. Because what you have done is if you take the tax base away, businesses create taxes. And that lowers the tax revenue for the people on the houses. That's why you don't want the houses right now. But sooner or later, you're going to come for the houses. You want the business part because the business is going to help the city of Hialeah. You might lose $4 million, but you're not going to lose $4 million over the years. You're going to make money. We already know that's a rich area over, and I worked for CSX for 43 years. Rich area over in there doing business. So we already know that we are blight, but I'm against this 100%. Because what is going to benefit it is going to benefit us. Let us come to the table. Y'all come to our neighborhood. I'm proud of our neighborhood. I don't care how it look. I'm proud. I'm very proud of our neighborhood. I'm a pastor, associate minister over at Salter's Chapel, African Methodist Episcopal Church on 48th Street, Northwest 27th Avenue. So we have to look out for our people because if we don't, nobody will. Now, we respect y'all. I respect all people. I don't look down on nobody. But to me, you're taking advantage of some people already been taken disadvantage of. So we got to come to the table right. Don't come wrong. Don't come to the table straight. We have people that represent us, don't really represent us, and they look like us. I concur with all these speakers up here in this curve because I already know what's happening. If you take that tax base away, these people are going to pay more taxes. So thank y'all very much. Consider that.
My name is Vincent Burnett, 2962 Northwest 50th Street,
Thank you, sir.
which is right in the heart of Brownsville. Brownsville Park, I believe, is on 50th and 31st Avenue. Went to Laura Park Elementary, Brownsville Junior High is on the 50th Street at 25th Avenue. And basically, and my mother still stays there. I don't stay there, but I represent my mother, 50-year resident of Brownsville, 80 years old, and home in a nurse, well, just came out of nursing home. We just brought her home. So the day we brought her home, today I got the notice of this, what's going on. And I commend the firefighter from the city of Hialeah. Different people have different opinions. This is not racial. And he doesn't see color. I don't see color either. Well, I do see colors. And I think the city commission probably sees color or evaluating color while you're in this exploratory stage. And that color is really real simple, green and white. It's green and white. I mean, and even as we look at the map and we look at the study, I'm an affordable housing advocate for DPA Fund and Equity Center, nonprofit. And prior to that, I worked for county agency where we spoke on the equitable participation of Blacks in Miami-Dade County. Basically, it's which started right after the riots, the McDuffie riots. I was in 11th grade. I know on 54th and 27th Avenue where they burnt down Norton Tire Store, which still hasn't been built yet. I remember when they built Brownsville Renaissance Center. I didn't think it was going to work, but it's still there. Bank of America is still there. I mean, the senior home, a portion of that, I think half of it is low rental apartments. And it's amazing how affordable rental is not really affordable. And then the other half of it is a senior center. My mom is still there. I mean, gentrification and different people have different thoughts. You can't control the free market. People, fair housing, people can move wherever they want. They can buy wherever they want. But I don't see color. The city commission don't see color. That fireman doesn't see color, except for green and white. And when you really think about it, they say, oh, well, we forgot the residential part. Well, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But the point is almost even more of an insult to not want the residential part. It's more of an insult. How you say Brownsville and don't go to 27th Avenue, or arguably not go to 22nd Avenue and don't want Brownsville Junior High? Don't want that Norton place where they burnt down. How you say Brownsville but don't want Brownsville Park? How you say Brownsville but don't say Laura Park? It's not 100% people who look like me. When I went to Laura Park, I don't know, 1977, whatever grade I was. Whatever the ethnic mix is, it is what it is. It's the residents. You're not saying Brownsville if you don't want all of Brownsville. And I can't blame the city of Hialeah. You're in the exploratory stage doing a study. We want the industrial, we want the commercial. Of course, we want the money with a little bit of services. And maybe in the early, I mean, you know, I'm a finance guy, but we don't have to get into numbers, but it's real simple. Why would I spend 4 million to get 800,000? Because long-term, you're going to get more than the 4 million you spent. And I'm not blaming the city of Hialeah, I'm blaming the county. They've done us a disservice. And maybe we need to tap into the county. The county would do us a disservice if y'all come full-fledged with this proposal against the residents' desires.
Okay,
For what they haven't provided to the residents of Brownsville.
thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I think everyone has spoken on the item. Ma'am, you wanted to speak? Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I moved to Brownsville with my parents in 1952 when I was 8 years old.
Name and
And-
address, ma'am, please.
I
Your
didn't-
name and address, please.
Jacqueline Culver Simpson. I own property at 4501, 4515, and 4517 Northwest 33rd Avenue. And I heard the gentleman who presented vacillating. I never could understand the map because I couldn't see it. I've asked Melissa for a printed copy so that I can peruse it and find out exactly what's happening. Because he constantly said 32nd Avenue and 33rd Avenue. That impacts me. And he talked about the voters, but he didn't talk about the property owners. The owners whose taxes increase 10% per year because they're not homesteaded. I know, I can testify. First of all, I don't understand the purpose of the annexation. And if somebody can explain it to me when everything is over, I would certainly like to know. Why are they trying to annex? Secondly, he talked about the cost to the city of Hialeah, but he didn't talk about the cost to the residents, to the homeowners. And I think that's even more important because we've been here a long time. I've seen Hialeah grow. The advantages and disadvantages, I heard of the advantages and disadvantages to the city, but I didn't hear it for the residents or the property owners. The other thing I'm very interested in, I just found out yesterday by text message that this was even going on. How will non-residents but property owners be notified so that they can be kept abreast of what's going on? Thank you for your time.
Greetings.
Good evening, sir.
It's a blessing to be in your presence.
Likewise.
My name is Israel Lion, Moore 7 Hebrew Bay. I'm one of the last native Aboriginal Indians of the Black Creek Seminoles of Florida, acknowledged by the court from the Honorable Judge David Young, which plainly says, Madam Teacher, this cause has been heard by the court and having heard by the petitioner, and being fully informed of the petitioner and as a judge that
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you give your address for the record, sir?
I live in Brownsville.
Your address, your mailing address, a PO box.
PO box. I'll give that to you when I get to you. I'll give you my PO box, but I can't give my exact address because I don't know. I have enemies up in here and people want to do some things.
Do
So
you have like a business address that you feel comfortable giving?
yes, I'll give you that.
Yeah, because we need that for the record. So if you don't mind,
No problem.
thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I'll give you my PO box.
Whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Okay.
Melissa, can you get
My,
the
my
card?
PO box from my tribal ID.
Yes, sir. Oh,
It's
okay.
here,
Do you mind if the city clerk
most definitely.
writes it down?
As well as this here is too. If
Okay.
you like to see it and have a copy from the Honorable Judge David Young from the 11th Judicial Court of Dade County, Florida,
Beautiful, absolutely.
as
If you,
Aboriginal,
I would love that.
non-citizen of the United States, but Aboriginal indigenous to the land.
Thank you. She'll make a copy for us there. Thank you.
The word Seminola came from
No,
a
no, not about, yeah.
The word Seminola came from a Black Indian Aboriginal that lived in Hialeah, and they named it after him, Seminola. His name was Willie Willie.
Mhm.
He named Hialeah when it was only us here. You had 5 so-called civilized tribes that the government gave tons of money to when they had us as Black African Moors up under them as slaves. And when Abraham Lincoln came forth with the Emancipation Proclamation in 1865 to free the slaves, he did it in Galveston, Texas, where there was a chief capital of Indians had African Moors as slaves. Yeah, and we never got our reparation money. Now, we never got our reparation money.
Mhm.
Now, even most of all, I admire all my Spanish brothers and sisters. Even though you have that royal mulatto skin, you're not white. You're not white.
Mhm. Yeah.
White folks is when I was 5 years old, took into Georgia. My grandfather, along with my great-grandfather, was hung from a tree by the white supremacists. See, you wouldn't do that. No, because you were fighting for freedom. That's why you came here, basically, in the Marriott boat lift, making a change, along with Ricky Ricardo, because of the colonization of Cuba. You didn't want to be a part of that evilness. So you wanted to make a change. And what I'm saying, Madam Chair, is the fact
For
that
the record, I was born here.
you were born here.
I
But
didn't come on the Murrell lift.
I'm talking about your
Yeah.
ancestors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about your
Yeah,
ancestors.
yeah,
According to the documents that you just seen,
yeah,
the judge called me indigenous aboriginal.
right,
Pay no taxes. I have no driver's license because I don't need that because of my status.
right,
I pay no taxes.
right.
And many of our tribal members are the same way, and we welcome all race, all creeds and colors. But you can't keep taking the land from the Aboriginals because then it's going to be some problems. Where we going to go? Where we going to go? So my thing I'm saying, don't let a billionaire hide behind the podium to flush money in to take our land and say it's the podium when it's not, it's that billionaire. And that's the real deal. My saying is simply saying the fact that if you back lions up in a corner, they're going to fight. It's going to be a war. Where are we going to go? Now, when the peasants from Europe came here in the 18th century, the government gave them land, subsidized land. He gave them billions of dollars of land, gave them money, free housing, and we never got, and that's long out, 40 acres and a mule,
I'm gonna give you 30 more seconds because your time is up, sir.
40 acres and a mule. And on top of that, we was told to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. What bootstraps? When we was freed off the plantation, some of us, we were given nothing, but still was treated as slaves. Then the Jim Crow laws came in and Mississippi brought them back. Now, the system in itself is not fair. History have proven that. And you have a chance, and I know you do as well as the podium, to say, no, we're going to respect our neighbors and not move and try to erase Opalaka. We're not going to try to move and erase Liberty City. We're not going to try to move and erase Brownsville. We're going to give them a chance. And that's what the
Thank you.
Aboriginal Black Creek Seminole of the chief is saying from the Moors Nation. Love, respect to all race, but you got to respect us too.
Thank you so much, sir. Melissa, did he get back his original copy? Did he get back his copy? Okay, she's gonna hand it to you right now. Yeah. No need, thank you. Okay, last one for tonight, I believe. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Dwight Wells, address 1975 Northwest 191st Street.
Thank you, sir.
A lot of these residents in here, I know they face kind of older, if you see the crowd, not younger people. We not here asking for y'all not to bring it and annex. We demanding that y'all don't. I'm gonna date back because I hear a lot of people saying Seminola, but I'm gonna date back to W. Wall Brown. the reason why Brownsville even named Brownsville in honor of his great name. But when you're talking about building the annex is a spot where you land at first, and then you move in. We're gonna do a disparity study real quick. We came from Little Haiti, Magic City. Took Edison Projects, cool. Came down, well, we rewind and say James E. Scott Carver. So it's like we fed up, like James E. Scott Carver, a Black infrastructure guy. Honored some projects by Kelsey Farr. We got guys in here that live on Kelsey Farr land to the day. Let's talk about community now. My community is of African-American race because some settlers settled into Miami when Miami was created in 1896. Some guys got here 1907, 1900, that have some prominent names that Miami-Dade County still cycle money from. As a community of people, like we fed up. We know about the banana in the tailpipe. We know about the reflection that this type of project give on our community. I, as a community leader, spearheaded the project in 2017. We're preserving historical Lincoln Memorial Park on 46th Street. Most of y'all can look it up on the news, community cleanup graveyard. And when I cleaned up that graveyard, I was passionate about the Gwen Cherries that's buried there. Our county first Black female to become a lawyer, study at the University of Miami, and I've become a state representative. I cleaned up for Henry H. Reed, founded the Miami Times in 1923. That annex, it's not going to be a reflection that reflect history to my community of kids who I navigate this community with on bicycles, like 232 of them. So I say this to say this. The dollars, the 4 million that's lost, Mayor, the decision of anything that's deemed historical by some diplomats, heard this guy speak of, he's a Moor. Well, some diplomats purchased this land and they purchased it for the community. Community, y'all want land to make money for the community. The Spanish community is going up. I'm just more time I have. 20 seconds, cool. The Spanish community go up, the Jewish community go up. Every community but the Haitian and Black community go up. So you guys came here for freedom. We was already here. You guys, we work hand in hand because you guys not white. And there's not a racist thing here, but we got some white Caucasians, billionaires behind the table. We got guys like George Perez, he's a Spanish guy as well, that just keep purchasing public land, the public, this the public, right? Who all part of the public, raise your hand. If you're a part of the public, you're a citizen of the United States.
Sir, your time now is up, so
this is
I
what I'm saying.
apologize.
This is what I'm saying. We
Thank
asking
you.
that the city of Hialeah just take it off the board.
All right.
Take it off the board.
Well, I appreciate everyone that came today. I appreciate the discussions that we had. A lot of the historical background of the community, I think, is very important. And like I said, we need to hear both perspectives. We need to understand not only today was a presentation for us, but for you all too. I'm happy that you guys were here. This is the first of many other conversations. If we are to move forward with this, we have about a dozen speakers that shared with us tonight against this item. I believe the council members understand the tone, respect the tone, and the message that has been said tonight. I'm going to stop the comments so far for tonight.
I have something to say, please.
Is it
I stood there for a
anything
while.
different from what's already been said?
My name is Jesse Wood and my address 3001
Are you
Northwest.
opposing the item as well, sir?
Yes, I'm definitely opposing the item.
Okay, but we're done with the opposing because we have,
I'll be very brief,
Okay.
okay? My name is Jesse Wooden, 3001 Northwest 46th Street. I am the owner of Lincoln Memorial Park Cemetery. Now, the first thing, I'm tired of people's getting up here and speaking about Lincoln when they had nothing to do with it. Has nothing to do with you all. The reason I'm here as a business guy, I want to know when you go reach out to us, the business people, and let us know what's going on, because be honest with these peoples, because I had someone come out to my cemetery and wanted to do a survey. Now, why do they want to do a survey at the cemetery? Now, I'm not a Brownsville resident, but I'm a Brownsville owner, a business owner, okay? Now, I'm going to stand up for these peoples. Now, what I don't want you guys to listen to these peoples come up here saying they have something to do with the cemetery, and they do not. And they know who I'm talking about. And they need to take their fake GoFundMe page down. Let me get that out, okay? Now, what I want you guys to do, understand, if you come into the cemetery and want to survey, then there's something you got planned for these peoples in Brownsville. Please let them know.
Okay. All right, thank you for everyone that was here tonight. If you would like to leave your phone number and contact information over here with Melissa from the clerk's office. Melissa, would you like to step outside, maybe out there, and whoever would like to write down their name and number
Am I gonna have an opportunity to speak?
on something else than the presentation?
Nothing of this.
No, yeah. Relax. We're closing the presentation portion of the comments. Yeah, we could take a 5-minute break.
God bless you. How you doing? It is. I'm doing good. That, I'm having a good doctor see me. And it's positive. Amen. How's your wife? How's the family?
Um, I have one more person for comments and question that has nothing to do with the prior presentation. And since we had so many others on comments and questions, I'm gonna allow her to speak. Please, ma'am, name and address for the record.
Hello, God bless you to everybody. My name is Beverly Medina. I'm Public Service Aide 1365 with the City of Hialeah Police Department. And I am employed as of 7400 West 24th Avenue, 33016. Do I have to provide my home address?
You could provide whatever address, but
I
need an address.
prefer that one, the
Okay.
7400 West 24th Avenue,
That's fine.
Sector 5 Police Station.
Okay.
That's my original workplace.
Okay.
I'm here today and I'm very grateful to hear certain comments that were said prior, where it was said, I am here today because I am tired. And it was said here, once we are overcome, we are taken down. And those are comments that I take to start this moment of the few minutes, even though I stutter a little because of the operation I had in my neck and everything, but I'll try to be as fast as I can. I was touched in the meeting of March 28, 2023. I witnessed it on the TV or on the shows or whatever they put on social media. And I'm here today because our voice has to be heard. I'm 21 years since April 1st of 2002, I've been employed as a public service aide in the city of Hialeah. There is not one person can speak negative about me. And if they are, like they say in the streets, they're just haters because I'm very truthful, honest, and pure. And in the council meeting of March 28, I heard the prayer that was said, Lord, we pray guidance and direction to benefit those who seek and who are in the city of Hialeah. And then the mayor, our honorable mayor, he said that the employees work a lot in the city, as well as he had remiss because Mr. Glassmer came here personally rather than going to the city directly to his office. That really touched my heart. And there's a lot I could say. Maybe I'll come to another meeting and I'll be more because I'm only getting the minutes and it's already done. But something that I need to express today is that what Glassmer stated is true, because we PSAs feel that pressure. There's only 3 PSAs, 2 now without me, and they're forcing me to work. They're trying to force me to work, and without even getting proper protocol with the doctors to write the letters. I need to state quickly that, and I wrote it here quickly. Let me just read it quickly. I'm forced to work. Ada Ovadia, workers' comp attorney, Robert Rodriguez, they went ahead and they put records, add records, take records to control the doctors. Where I am sent to work on March 27, I think it was the other time that Elsa sent me the letter. I'm sent to work, but Kalman Bloomberg didn't even release me to work. And they just put that I have to go to work. Then they sent me a letter to rescind. There's a lot of things that are happening here, including this receipt where I provided to the city that should not be ignored. Almost $9,000 were paid to Dr. Brown years ago, where he stated that the city itself asked for them to fulfill expectations against me. I need action. And I'm going to just finish with this because there's a lot I could say, and I think you'll probably cut me, but there's a lot of things. Mayor, God bless you and may the Lord be with you. And yes, you are in my prayers. The city of Hialeah is my prayers. But I've requested a meeting with you since the day you swore in and after, and I haven't seen it. And that's what I want to leave with, hopefully with you considering that one day. I went up there, I saw you in the 4th floor once. You told me I'll talk to somebody about it. That has to happen. I'm surprised it hasn't happened. Nothing has happened since then. I've emailed also. But I just want you to know, Mayor, okay, that the letter that I wrote to Elsa, and she kept it here when I spoke before the personnel board meeting in January of 2022. That letter, she kept it. We had meetings with the Chief Fuentes, with a lot of different people, and you're aware.
Ma'am, your time's up.
Okay,
So-
but I need to know, okay, what we could do to get my situation better. And federal offices have already told me I need an executive order. And I just tell you one thing, and I'll finish with this. I personally want for you to please consider my word. There are people in this department that are still part, and I say it boldly, that are still a participant of the old administration's mentality and works. And that's including the attorney Bravo. And I want to tell you that I saw what she did, how she
Okay.
moved and how she spoke.
Okay, but
And
time
I
is up
want
now.
to be investigated for Ms. Bravo
Okay.
because there are words and things and actions
Um,
that she has
I
done
don't
in
know
my
if you
case.
want to speak
workers'
with,
comp.
the mayor's office and if you want to make a private appointment to speak to
My dear,
him.
but I've done that and no one helps me. So I have to come here.
I
That's-
know that his office has appointments that they make. I don't know if that's something
Since
or
January of
maybe,
2022, I've had that.
okay.
So I'm done with me talking now, I understand. But
Okay.
I'm in a desperate situation back, like contra la espada y la pared to a point where a doctor tells me that what the city is doing shows a knowledge, unprofessional and everything of workers' comp.
I'm
So what
sorry
am
that
I
you're
to do?
going
What
through
do you
that.
suggest me to do? What do you want me to do? When I've begged, I've cried, I've pouted, I've emailed, I've done everything. I begged everybody.
I'm not familiar with your case, so I can't guide you, but I will find out.
But
I will
that's
find
what they
out.
keep telling me, but they just brush off.
Yeah.
Elsa knows everything detailed and she was in shock. Chief Fuentes knows details and they were in shock. Castañeda knows details, they were in shock.
Okay. I'm
Everybody
sorry,
knows
but
it, my
yeah,
dear.
time's up.
But do I get another 3 minutes if I can?
At another meeting, if you like, you're welcome to
Not
come.
today?
No, not another 3 meetings. I'm sorry. It's already 8, almost 9 o'clock at night.
But we need
I'm
a
sorry.
solution. Mayor,
I'm
please,
sorry.
we
I'm
need a
sorry, Bev.
solution.
I will tell you this, coming here is not going to be the solution, okay? If you can't get a meeting with my folks, I don't know what the problem may be, I'll address it with you, but coming here is not gonna do it. And calling out and trying to throw people under the bus or attack people, it's not going to ingratiate you with anybody. So I don't know what your particular situation is. We're not gonna debate it here. We're not gonna debate it here, okay? So you could either go talk to Carlos or Mari and come to my office tomorrow morning as soon as I walk in, so then we could discuss what the problem
I
is
will
that
do
you're
that,
having,
sir.
okay?
I will do that.
All right.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna move on now to, we have
Hello?
now announcements and amendments and corrections. to
Hold
the-
on.
Oh, we have somebody else.
Yes.
Yes.
I was going to try to come.
Name and address for the
yes,
record,
I was
please.
gonna try to come last week, but I had flooding in front of my house. Millie Herrera, 4341 East States Lane. And yesterday was a horrible day because my roof cracked. Hopefully the water won't come in. And I had major flooding in my house.
Okay, timer's on.
Renee Garcia got the phone. I want to speak to the city council because the city council has the power to make laws, take laws away, change laws, approve things, unapprove. Somebody told me if I had seen meetings lately, I said, I haven't been to the meetings. What for? They don't listen, they don't pay attention. There's laughing, they're talking. But I want to talk about this overdevelopment. Because if there are two things that the city of Hialeah has hurt the city of Hialeah is the poor governing and poor planning. These developers are coming in, and we know this because it's coming very close to my house. And I had a business owner, another business owner call me. I had a resident call me. I had somebody go, can you find out there's an 11-story building? I don't know anything about this. I had to, in the last 3 weeks, had to kind of learn what was going on because I have been, and the mayor knows, busy with other things that are very delicate that I cannot discuss here. And it has consumed me emotionally and mentally. And I also work and I have my life. But let me tell you, I was very, very emotional and very moved by the showing of the community from Bronzeville, because I wish the Cubans would show up like this, but they have, and the items still get approved. You approve things against the will of the people. Abraham Lincoln established the Homestead Act. Maybe some of you should look that up. And after Ronald Reagan, the country and the world shifted to more rental. You should read about the labor homes of the Soviet Union. You so much Republicans. This is not Republican. Republicans push for independence from government, for more home ownership. So what do I suggest to all these developers here? Because you're all greedy asses.
Watch your language, please.
Whatever, I'm not so decorum, but my heart is in the right place. I'm really sorry. But I know that I may not be so perfect as some of you here, but my heart is in the right place because I love my city and I liked you a lot. And why do I hate you now? Why? Why am I feeling this? This wasn't who I was. Why? Because I'm stressed, because I'm in panic that you're going to come and take the only thing my father left us, the house where I live. And I'm 62 and I survived cancer. There's nowhere to go. And the developers need to know you could do infill, readaptive reuses like they did with the Ramada Inn. I love what they did.
I'll give
there.
you 30 more seconds, Ms.
Okay.
Herrera.
This is the problem. I haven't been here in a year and a half since they put her again there. What for? There was no transparency. I'm telling you, historic preservation of Bronzeville, what? You can't even defend Hialeah Park.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm not done.
No, time is up.
I'm not
Ms.
done.
Herrera.
You gave this community a lot more time.
Ms. Herrera, time is up.
You came to my neighborhood and you were against this development.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
And
Herrera.
now you were like Mrs. Decorum.
Okay,
But let me tell you, I know you told me that the mobile home people had to go. I had an 11-year-old girl look up at me and tell me, why are they doing this to us?
okay, we're
I
moving
had
on.
marks.
Is there
from a
anybody
hand
else that would
from
like
an
to
elderly
speak?
person
Any
who
other
told me,
comments and
help us,
questions?
you speak English.
Ms. Herrera, please.
Okay, you need to stop these developers by putting a moratorium.
Millie, you've been here long enough. You know how the rules are. You don't need to come here and do the spectacle, okay?
I'm not
You've
doing a
given your threat-
spectacle.
You are.
You're destroying
You
our
are.
city.
No,
I want to recall you.
go for it, okay? Go for it.
It's true. Good evening,
Good
sir.
afternoon, council. My name is Eric Johnson. I represent
You-
Millie. That's my
Yeah.
message. Eric Johnson, Hialeah firefighters.
Mr.
Proud to
Johnson.
represent them. I think it's time for a compliment for the council and the mayor, actually. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand what it takes to grow a city. What it takes to grow a city is monetary values. That's what it takes.
Mr.
And you s-
Johnson,
Ma'am,
you spoke already tonight.
I
It's already
spoke on a-
almost
I
9
spoke on a
o'clock.
presentation, correct?
Okay, go ahead. I'll give you,
Just comments and questions. Unfortunately, a lot of people they don't understand what it takes to grow a city. And what it takes to grow a city is revenue. That's what it takes. I would like to compliment the council because this is the most transparent council and the mayor that we've had, I believe, almost in our history. I have not seen this before, and I will stand before you and tell you that I'm the biggest critic of the city. So the transparency that you just heard about that didn't exist is absolutely false. If you want to change your future, change your politics. And that comment was not directed to the council. It was directed to the lady that just said he wants to recall one of the best mayors we've ever had. I won't stand for it. We are making strides as a community. This council is making strides to find new ways to gain revenue without raising taxes on the public, which is the most responsible thing that I, as the city's biggest critic, have seen in over 20 years. Kudos to all of you who sit up there and who have the fortitude to deal with the harassment and the hits that you continually take. Most of those hits have been for me over the years. You guys are all firing together like a well-oiled machine. Don't stop. Don't get discouraged. Keep going. You're doing
Thank
a
you.
damn good job.
thank you so much. We're going to move on to announcements and amendments and corrections to the agenda.
Consent items I, J, K, and L have been added to today's agenda. Consent item E has been amended to reflect the correct number of mobile radios being purchased. And items PZ2 and PZ6 are postponed until the city council meeting of May 23rd, 2023.
Thank you. We have no board appointments. We're going to move on to our consent agenda. Do we have any council members that would like to pull or discuss an item?
Motion.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir, you're recognized.
You want first?
Go ahead.
Item C and J.
Item C and item J.
I'll second.
Councilman Zogby, did you have an item you wanted to
Item I.
pull?
Thank you. Item I.
Item I.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, any other council member? I have a motion by Councilman Tundidor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Vice President Garcia Robles. Can we please call the roll?
Mr. Rodriguez? Your vote on the consent agenda, sir? Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz? Ms. Garcia Robles?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes,
Motion carries. The consent agenda has passed except items C, I, and J.
thank you. Item C, please.
Request permission to utilize City of Miami invitation for bid number 391322 parentheses 19, document management software, hardware and services effective through June 15, 2023, and issue a purchase order to MCCI LLC for the purchase of licensing and data conversion services for Laserfish, the city's electronic document management system for the city's Department of Public Works in a total expense amount not to exceed $53,945.23, of which $5,750.23 is for licensing and $48,195 is for data conversion and migration. The funding for the expenditure is to be withdrawn from the Water and Sewer Division Fund, Contractual Services, Other, account number 450-9500536-341.
Thank you so much. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you. Director, no, just wanted to understand what Laserfish was exactly.
Ricardo Suarez, CIO for the city, 501 Palm Avenue. Laserfish is the electronic document management system. So scan all the documents and all paperwork into the system for searchability and archiving of.
Okay,
data.
would this be a new system that we don't currently have or?
We
we're
currently
just-
use it. We have it for city clerk. Building uses it. There's a few other departments that use it, and now we're expanding it to Public Works.
So it would be a new service that Public Works would have.
Correct.
And with this, so you're saying we would be scanning our old files and then making them digital essentially?
And
Will we go back to the oldest files we have, or is there a time period that we're gonna be covering?
So we're converting the system they had, the old system they had, converting that data in, and then we'll be scanning any in-between stuff to make it current.
Okay, and do you know like what the estimated timetable is to go fully online?
I don't have that yet.
Okay, and then so what are the features in terms of searchability?
It's fully indexed, so based on what you're searching for, you can run the search.
Okay, is it automated or the user has to input the index?
So the old stuff isn't yet converted, so that'll be automated, but then we're setting up workflows so that all the new stuff that goes in is automatically done. Has some automation behind it.
Okay. And that'll be done by the IT department or?
No, by
Public Works?
MCCI, by the
Oh, so
vendor.
the company will do.
Correct. They'll establish it, and then all the scanning going forward will be done by the department, by Public
Okay,
Works.
but are we talking about a year or a couple months?
It shouldn't be a year, but I don't have a time frame, so I don't want to give you that. But
Understood.
it shouldn't take a year now.
Okay, thank you. That's all for me. That's it? Okay, motion, I guess.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilman Calvo and I have a second by Councilman Zogby. Can we please call the roll?
Mr. Tumidor. Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Mr. Calvo.
Yes.
Ms. Casam Munoz. Yes. Ms. Garcia Robles.
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, your vote on item C.
Turn on your microphone. So,
Thank you. Motion carries. The item is approved.
thank you. Moving on to item I.
Proposed resolution approving the street naming at West 55th Street between West 4th Avenue and West Second Court as Evarito G. Mendez Way, with the cost of signage to be paid by the city in his honor as a beloved member and business leader of the Hialeah community.
Thank you.
You're recognized, sir.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mayor, we better expect when we finally do the actual street naming to have a big crowd there. Because Gustavito Mendez was an institution in his neighborhood, in this city, a patriot, a great resident of Hialeah, a businessman loved and admired by everyone who ever came, right, whoever knew him, whoever came in contact with him. And I'm so glad we didn't waste any time. This great man passed about a month ago, and this is already an item on the agenda. Thank you for bringing this forward, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Brandon, for having such a great grandfather.
So Brandon Diaz, for the purpose of the item 350 West 55th Street, Hialeah, Florida, 33012. As Councilman Zogby mentioned, so actually, first of all, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, and Madam Attorney and council members. My grandfather was a good friend of many council members over the years. good friend of many state reps, state senators over many, many years. Most importantly, he loved the city of Hialeah. From the moment that he came to this country in 1980, he stepped foot in this city. He goes, "This is my city for the rest of my life." Sorry, guys.
You're making him very proud and you really are, Brandon. And I know that this is a surprise to your family, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, sorry, guys. So kind of just to sum it up real quick, he was a good friend of, many friends of ours, Mayor Boval, Commissioner Garcia. The names go on and on and on. Councilman Rodriguez, there's a bald guy in the crowd there too. He was a good friend of his too, but he's all right. So I just on a lighter note, I want to thank you guys. I know this agenda was kind of busy. You guys had a good amount of public comments. I want to thank the mayor and the council members for the consideration. I know he's looking down on us and it'll make him proud.
Yeah.
And this city meant the world to him. So thank you guys.
Very welcome.
Thank you so much.
I want to say a comment. I had the honor to go to elementary, junior high and high school with his mom. And I can tell you that she was one of the most hardest worker, straightforward person and great businesswoman. And I can tell you that came from her upbringing. And you guys are great. And I mean, the legacy that he's bringing behind is amazing. He sat down with me and he gave me a couple of consejos, and it's my private consejos, but I still have them in my heart. So thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate that.
Councilman.
Thank
Hey,
you.
guys.
And Brandon said that his grandfather used to host cafecitos, right? That Mayor Bovo was a part of that.
Yeah,
So I told Brandon and now he has to do the legacy and host it for us.
yeah.
So
I'll
you
make
have
sure,
to
I'll make
host
sure I
the
host a couple of those
cafecitos.
for you guys.
All right,
Thank you.
good.
guys.
We passed the torch.
Thank you.
That's right. That's right. Well, congratulations. So I have a motion on the table from Councilman Zogby.
Second.
I have a second by Councilwoman Casals Munoz. Can we please call the roll?
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Tumidor, Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Congratulations. We're moving on now to item J, please.
Request permission to utilize Seminole County Public Schools invitation to bid award number 2122001 BLL fire hydrant maintenance and repair services effective through September 28th, 2024, and issue a purchase order to R&M Service Solutions LLC for maintenance and repair services for hydrants that are found out of compliance under the city's ISO study in a total expense amount not to exceed $125,000. The funding for this expenditure is to be charged to the Water and Sewers Division Fund, Capital Outlay Infrastructure Account Number 450-9510-533-630.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Yeah, Director, so Director Linsky, is he here? Okay, so from what I can see here, it's talking about the hydrant study that we commissioned. I'm assuming that's the one we did several months ago, but I don't see the actual study attached here to our backups.
Certainly.
Can I guess you give me an overview of what we found?
Sure. So to date, about 75% of the hydrants have been inspected. There were expected to be about 3,000 hydrants, and it turns out there's an estimate of about 3,300. So they're finding about 10% additional. They're getting a pretty high hit rate. So of all the meters that they have gone through to date, which I think is 2,360, they've identified about
Is that, sorry, meters or?
I'm
or
sorry.
hydrants?
I'm in the meter business, so I'm not
Got it.
used to saying the word hydrants. I make that mistake a lot. Of the hydrants, about 16% have been identified as not functioning.
Okay.
So we're,
Out of 2,800, you said?
so out of 2,360, they've identified 374 in the field that are not functioning.
374.
And 74. Now they still have about 20% of the system to go through, but they're getting a 16% hit rate. So we have exactly one person who fixes hydrants within the department. And there's no way that he can keep up. So to date, that individual has fixed out of the 374 hydrants, just about 150. So there's a backup of a couple hundred. The company that has provided the inspection services also fixes hydrants. And we have asked to tap into a contract that is pre-existing in Seminole County. And fundamentally, it's a $75 an hour labor rate to get through the backlog. So we estimate 125,000 will be able to finish the hydrants.
When you talk about fixing, or can you is it a range of fixes, or or are we talking about total replacements?
Not well, I think to date, there might have been, I think I heard the number about 70 total replacements. Some of them are fully replaced. The majority of these are fixable, but I apologize. I don't know all the parts of a hydrant and where they are having their typical problems. There is a report that identifies each hydrant, takes pictures of it. We have an engineering company that follows in after the inspection has taken place to validate it. And then it lists all the repairs that are required.
Okay. And I guess, how do we know, like, how are we monitoring on the city side that we're, like, this company is, doing everything we're paying them to do? What's
Yep.
our oversight on that?
Good question. Yeah, it's a engineering company that was brought in just for that purpose. So they go behind the inspection company in the field and they inspect. I'm not sure every single hydrant, but they do spot checks. They don't accompany them throughout their day because they're out there every day, two gentlemen. So they're doing it on spot check, and then they take the reports that are provided from the company and they compress the data and they send it on to us. They also are placing it inside of a GIS file that we can send to the fire department. So it's pretty impressive. You can see all the meters, all the hydrants within the system. They've color coded them for red, meaning out of service, and yellow, meaning they still require more maintenance, but they'll function.
Okay. Yeah, I'd just like to see the study, and if, I guess, if you had the address of the ones that are non-functional, right, as the
We
scope
do.
of this
We
project.
do.
Just because, curiously enough, right, the hydrant, I guess, closest to my house, I saw when they came and like painted the blue cover of the water, but the hydrant itself was like untouched. But the hydrant next to it was painted, so I didn't know if that's like one that's, might be for replacement purposes or what happened there. And then I think there was also the other study that we were pending, which was the meters one. What's the status of that?
Yeah, interestingly, I received an email. I haven't, had a chance to even talk about the mayor last week. This is Bremex. Was this the company that was going to come
You
in?
know
and-
better than me.
So I'm only aware of one other contract that we have that has to deal, in this case, with meters, where they were looking at potentially using some private meter readers. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yes.
So
It was supposed to be, my understanding was a study of, I guess, half of our meters to see what we saw data wise.
So I may not get this exactly right, but the company came in, they trained for 4 to 8 weeks with our fellows on the routes where they were going to take over. They took over those those routes, and they were benchmarked as to how many meters they were able to read and how many they left unread. And during the time of the study, the changeover in the workforce from Bremex was really high. So the folks who were trained were not the ones who ended up doing the readings. They did not have a good result. And last week, the representative from Bremex emailed the city and said that they don't wish to go forward with the rest of the pilot.
Okay, so did we receive some official result, or it's all?
So I have two things, one of which showed the performance of the company on the routes that they had. And I was hoping to meet with Bremex to see what they thought their issues were. They just didn't have good luck with their workforce and decided to bow out. And the
Got it.
cost also that I saw, I think the council had passed a pilot that had a certain cost in it, and the cost that ended up being used was a higher one per meter cost. So even if they had taken over the routes, there did not appear to be much savings there.
So I guess 2 points. A, can we get the data that they did provide? And then B, can we get our money back, right? Because it doesn't seem like they complied with what we were asking them to do, scope of the project.
I will ask it, but I'm not, yes, I'll ask. I'm not-
we might have to.
I don't know what
might
the
have to do
payment
something there.
terms were during the pilot. I'm not sure.
And then going back to the hydrants for a second, so obviously you said we're at 75%, but it seemed to me that the idea was to get this done like a lot quicker than what we are now. My understanding was we want to do it by the end of the year of 2022. So we're obviously like almost 5 months delayed there.
Very behind. The ISO fire inspection could happen anytime during the summer through September.
Right.
And so this is pretty critical to get this contract in place. And even at that, they're going to be running against the clock.
Okay, well, I guess, are we doing everything that we need to do to push them, right? Because that's, I guess the downside with all these contracts is we're kind of at their mercy.
Yep, in this case, it's just two gentlemen. If we come back in about 4 weeks and they're not at the pace that they can complete the repairs of the hydrants on time, I will see if they can bring resources in from out of town.
Okay, do we have any, to your knowledge, any penalty provisions in any of these agreements that we signed?
With the hydrant,
With the hydrant, with the water meters, with this today that we're approving?
I don't know what the penalty would be in this contract. We pay them hourly after they've made the repairs. We inspect the repairs. I guess if they don't effectuate the repairs, we just don't pay for them. But I'm not sure it's a penalty system so much as we won't pay them.
Yeah, I guess I would direct it to the board. I mean, I think maybe moving forward, it seems like, not just maybe in water, maybe this is widespread, but people aren't complying with these things that we're giving them. Maybe there should be some penalties in there. They'll hold them accountable at least. I mean, that's one of the issues, I guess, with government always, but this is what we have a touch with anyways. But anyways, I appreciate your time. Thank you for everything.
Through the chair. Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Linsky, how you doing? Just for my clarity, so 300 not working, right? Is that what we found? And so do we have
374, I believe, was the number.
Sure. So do we have an idea more or less how long they haven't been working for? Do we know that? No.
No, it's my understanding that these ISO ratings happen every 5 years. I've been here 5 weeks, so I'm unclear if a full
Yeah.
full inspection took place 5 years ago.
Okay. So we could assume that maybe at a minimum 5 years they haven't been working, or at most.
If you took the statistical average, you'd be at 2.5 years, but who knows? I don't know.
So is it a general area, Mr. Linsky, that?
So the fail rates definitely are different in different areas of the city. In the annexation area, I think they had a great result because those meters are new. There are some meters that are 60 or 70 years old, I think in the southeast, that have not. Some of the areas had out of service rates in the 20s percentiles, and some are down at 10 and under. So it does vary.
Okay. And then, so just what are your thoughts? How do you think we could catch these things a little earlier? Is it just like an annual inspection, or do we have a plan in place for that?
I do not have a plan now, but after we get them up to snuff, which hopefully be midsummer, there should be a maintenance program. Many cities, maybe not all, put in a charge for fire hydrant maintenance. I'm not suggesting that you should do it, but typically there's a revenue source for that. The city of Miami, I believe, has a small charge. And in that case, I think the fire department itself goes out and does the inspections. At the county,
that cost is passed on to the consumer, to the resident?
In the city of Miami, I believe it was. I think it was just a tiny charge on the water bill, maybe a 50-cent charge.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you. Just so you know, years past, we used to have an employee of water and sewer going through all the fire hydrants and flushing them out and checking them and making sure that they are up to standard. I know that they haven't done that in years, but we used to have an employee that would go around that worked in the water and sewer department, and he would do the flushing of all the hydrants on a yearly basis. So just so the council knows.
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for the 5 weeks. Appreciate that. You said it was East Hialeah, or just the older area with a higher percent?
I was told the older areas, and I believe that was to be in the southeast, but I'm not.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense what you're saying. Okay, all right. Thank you.
I actually have two questions for you. I know that when we had discussed this item, we had said that we were gonna look at the parameters and the boundaries of the city and see where there were any missing hydrants with the growth, with the increase of residents and of development. Is that something that the study has already included?
Good question. Did I tell you that when we spoke? Because no, that's a good question. What they
Because
have
you said
done.
you were gonna follow up and let me
Yeah,
know.
so in this GIS map, I guess there's a standard maybe for commercial where every 300 feet, you're supposed to have a hydrant, every 500 in residential. So it has identified areas where they are underserved by hydrants, yes.
So that portion is gonna be included in the report to let
There's-
us know?
Yes, it is. They're scattered around. I don't know that it's
Okay.
any one area, but they have found them during their inspections.
Off the top of your head, do you have a rounded number?
I wish I did, but I
You
don't know.
Okay, and then I know that we had also discussed about following up. I know that the chief had said something about maybe having the hydrants on GPS pinpoints so that the firemen know where they're located. Is that something that we are working on to plot them?
Yes, the engineering company that has come in to validate the work of the inspections are GIS mapping them.
Okay,
And that GIS map, I think, will also tell you things about the pressure and a couple other things that are relevant to the fire department when they go.
and that map is something that they have access to in the event of an emergency. They could pull it up and see exactly where. Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes,
Just very quickly, I want to make sure the city clerk was able to grab everything that I was asking for, because I know I threw a lot at you. Just to reiterate, what I want to see is the actual study for the hydrants, A, B, the addresses of the ones that were found to be ineffective, which is pursuant to this item. Then separately from that, the water meter study, any data that we received from the company we hired, and then the subset of that would be, what are we going to do moving forward as far as seeing if we can get our money back, if we have the agreement that maybe we can take a look at our legal department. So those are the four requests. Thanks.
thank you. And then the clerk, I'm sure, will send it to the rest of the council members once she has
Yes, ma'am.
received that. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other discussion on this item? Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion by Vice President Garcia Robles, and I have a second by Councilmember Tunjador.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes,
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor. Motion carries. The item is approved.
thank you, ma'am. All right, moving on to administrative items. Item 11A.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance accepting the dedication of land improved with a pump station of approximately 3,331 square feet as depicted in the surveyor's sketch attached as Exhibit A, subject to and approving the terms of the quitclaim deed attached as Attachment 1 from Two Lakes Lennar LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is on second reading. Do we have anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on behalf of the item? Okay,
Otherwise, motion.
all right. So I have a motion by Councilmember Zalby and I have a second by Councilwoman Casals Munoz.
Ms. Casal Munoz. Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes,
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Mr. Calvo.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
thank you. Item 11B, please.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving the fourth renewal beginning June 23rd, 2023 through August 19th, 2028 with T-Mobile USA Tower LLC, a Delaware limited liability company by and through CCTMO LLC, a Delaware limited liability company of the ground lease for the 95-foot monopole communications tower that commenced on August 20th, 2003 for a base annual rent of $45,023.68 and annual increases of 4% each year at Babcock Park located at 651 East Fourth Avenue in Hialeah, Florida, and renewing the first amendment and memorandum of the original ground lease, each dated January 10th, 2019, stating a generator to power the T-Mobile communications antennas in an event of a power outage and providing for antenna improvements and modifications for an additional monthly rent of $300, copies of which are attached hereto and made a part hereof respectively as exhibits 1, 2, and 3, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is on second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on behalf of the item? Seeing there is none, do I have discussion on the item? I have a motion
Second.
by Councilmember Tundidor, and I have a second by Councilmember Zogby.
Ms. Garcia Rovez,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Tumidor, Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz. Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. Item 11C.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving a first amendment to the exclusive franchise agreement for the collection of residential recyclable material granted to World Waste Recycling Incorporated, a Florida corporation, the predecessor in interest to Coastal Waste and Recycling of Florida Incorporated, a Florida corporation, pursuant to Hialeah, Florida ordinance number 2018-042, adopted on May 22nd, 2018, extending the agreement for a term beginning upon execution of the First Amendment to exclusive franchise agreement by the parties and ending on September 30th, 2024, providing for subsequent renewals of the agreement at the option of the parties for a term of 1 year at each renewal, with a cumulative duration of all subsequent renewals not exceeding a total of 5 years, updating the rates for collection services by providing a uniform rate of $2.97 per collection as provided in section 16 of the First Amendment, subject to yearly consumer price index and other adjustments effective October 1st, 2023, and pursuant to the formula set forth in sections 17 and 22 of the First Amendment, amending the agreement to be consistent with current collection services and to establish new requirements, approving the First Amendment in substantial conformity with Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and made a part hereof, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk as attesting witness on behalf of the city to execute the First Amendment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is also on second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone in council chambers to speak on behalf of the item? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everyone, Mayor, Council people, and City Clerk and City Attorney. My name is John Casagrande, and I am with Coastal Waste and Recycling. Last time I stood here before you, I
apologize. Your address for the record, sir.
2481 Northwest Second Avenue, Boca Raton,
Thank
Florida.
you.
Last time I stood before you, Councilman Zagby held up his plastic bottle and said, "This is going to the landfill." And I stood here and argued vehemently, "No, it's getting recycled." Well, I'm here to tell you for the record, I was wrong. It is going to the landfill. I was informed by outside counsel, Mr. Dees, the following day when he called my office and said, "Mr. Casagrande, you misspoke." Based on the agreement that was made with Waste Connections and the former Public Works Director, Mr. Vidal, the material was being taken to the landfill. So I want to say for the record that I was wrong and I had no idea about it. I guess it was I was the last one to know, as they say. And so I want to apologize for that. But again, I stand before you with that in mind and understanding the concerns of this city and this council about how to handle it and the cost and the effects it has on the city. In discussions with Councilman Zigbee and the mayor and the mayor's office, and again, David D. Coastal Waste and Recycling amended its agreement or changed its agreement from the first reading to now it's a 1-year agreement to give us the opportunity to show you what we can do, educate the city of Hialeah residents, eliminate some of the contaminations as best we can. We have researched technology that exists today, AI technology that we can put in trucks that we are going to experiment with. The city of Hialeah trucks will get the first ones.
And it will be able to pinpoint whatever we want. If somebody throws out a hose or a bicycle or a plastic bag, it will tell us that when that happens, and we'll geocode that address right then and there. And we'll go back to that resident, or, or how the city wants to address that with the residents. We don't want to fine, we just want to educate. We want to create the ability so that gives them the opportunity to recycle correctly, and give us the 1 year to do so. And I'm here to answer any questions or anything that anyone want to know. But again, I understand the concerns, and it is a cost factor, and if it's going to the landfill, that's an issue. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Casagrande. You're a good man, and Coastal's a good company. And thank you for listening to us. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming to the agreement, sir, that for 1 year, so we can evaluate this year to year. And we understand the challenges of recycling and what, and the people want it, but it's got its challenges nowadays, but I can work with this motion on my part.
Thank you
Thank
so
you, sir.
much. If you could allow the Councilman Zaghi, just in case anybody else would like to speak on the item, is there any other discussion?
Through the chair.
Yes, sir, you're recognized.
Okay, so sorry to hold your feet to the fire, if you will, but what exactly are you saying that your company would be doing differently, I guess, for this year?
Recognizing through new technology, and Councilman Calvo, I can share that with you after the meeting or whenever, that it is AI technology that you can program the technology to have a camera inside the hopper, we call it, the area where the recycling is dumped in the truck, take a picture or design the AI technology to identify what doesn't belong. It's simple as that. And it can identify plastic bags, a hose, or a pizza box that we've all learned that is not recyclable. Identify that and see exactly where the contamination is happening, down to the home. And again, begin some sort of educational process showing the ability to change some of that if we can. And it's still, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to happen. I'm going to give it a shot, and I think we can get it done. We've done it before. And that's basically
yeah, I guess that's my question. Do you do that in another municipality or somewhere else in the state?
Well, this is the first we're going to use the AI technology, but we've gone through processes where we've literally handpicked before these cars, yellow bins and blue bins, and tagged and left certain stickers to educate the resident of what we left or why we left it in the bin, things like that. But this is the first of its kind in South Florida to have the AI technology.
Okay, so it's at this stage right now, as we're reviewing this, it's not a technology, it's operation. It's more prospective. We hope
No, it's
that-
operational in other places. It's just not operational here in South Florida.
Okay, so, but your company uses it, or other companies use it?
There are other companies
You'd be
that-
importing it.
Will be other companies throughout the country use it. There are
Okay.
other places that use it. We've watched the demonstration, and we've already acquired it, and it's being installed as we speak.
Okay, so it'll be installed in the trucks that will patrol Hialeah, and then the way it works is you get a personal visit or a letter or something from the
So,
company?
however, at that point, I believe we work with the city, however we want to do it. Again, it's what we feel will work with the resident. We can leave a sticker, we can do a mail, or we can stick, a door hanger. However, that, what we feel is what we, and I say we, the city and Coastal, how we want to communicate. We usually don't take it upon ourselves to communicate to your residents without obviously discussing it with you.
Okay, but is Coastal going to absorb those costs, or that'll be split, or the city will cover that?
No, the Coastal is going to absorb the AI technology and the and-
Notification
and the
process?
notification process too.
Okay, is that in the agreement anywhere?
There's some information. I don't exactly remember what's about who informs or what the Coastal is responsible for in the agreement. When it comes to notification, off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay, Madam Attorney, do you know if any of that is in the agreement?
Remind me again what the conversation is?
I guess
Proposal.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, do you guys think that we should put it in here since we're discussing this? I'm just saying, I mean, this is all great, but tomorrow we could all change our mind, right? And there would be nothing binding us to this. Sure, there's something in here about, this is the total agreement.
Councilman, let me weigh in on this. And I understand where you're going, and I don't necessarily disagree. I think the thought process of a 1 year with the possibility of extension is that if they can't do what they say they're going to do, this program is going to go away. But saying that the program is going to go away requires, is going to require some education on our part also. Okay, so if you follow me for a second, they're claiming technology that will be able to help them improve this process of recycling. At least they're putting on the record that they would, either participate or directly contact folks, educate folks, or help with the education. If none of that stuff happens, this contract will be, I mean, there's always a possibility of termination of a contract, but there won't be a renewal after this next one. And then I would just be advised to all of us that we're going to have to educate folks in our community, because some people are in love with their green bin and have been using their green bin for God knows what. And therein lies an education process. So I don't know if it's necessarily that you need to insert it in the contract, but they're on notice that they're going to have to do certain things. If not, this contract will only be 1 year and then it's done. So if that helps.
Through the chair.
Sir, you recognize?
Lorena, just a quick question. We have a termination without cause in the agreement, correct?
No, but you have the right to notify them that you do not want to renew the contract. The notice period, however, is 360 days.
So if we don't want to renew, we have to let them know in 5 days after the effective date.
Council members, my name is David D. I'm your outside attorney. I've been working on this contract and on other contracts for the city for the last 10 years or so. I reside in Tallahassee, 234 Rose Hill Drive, 32312. The contract does not allow termination for convenience. It does allow termination for cause. It does require them to work with you to reduce contamination of the recyclable materials. I agree with the mayor's comments that they've made a representation to you here tonight saying what they're going to do with regard to the use of artificial intelligence to improve the recycling rates and reduce the amount of contamination. I would suggest we have it on the record here, both audio and visual. If they don't live up to it, terminate them. You do not need to give them the notice in advance. Ms. Bravo is correct. They have to give us the notice if they don't wish to renew, but we're under no obligation to give them notice. So quite frankly, I'm very tired of working on this contract. I thought we were going to have it done months ago. I'm trying to retire. This is my last public hearing. I don't want to work on this anymore.
And we made you come to Hialeah from Tallahassee, just for this.
I've had 44 years of public hearings. I have to confess, your hearing tonight has been most interesting. So,
We knew you were leaving.
We want you to go out with a bang.
I have lots to remember now. But respectfully, I would ask that you indulge me. Let's go, if you want to go with the contract, let's go with it. There is a revised version that Ms. Bravo has. It was not part of the agenda package. There are only 2 changes to the document that was originally presented at first reading. The changes reduce the term of the contract from 5 years to 1 year.
Okay.
And then 1 year renewals. So it gives you more flexibility to terminate if you're dissatisfied. It also adds a new provision which says basically that if you decide you want to send your recyclable materials to a different facility for processing, you will consult with Coastal. The reason being, Mr. Casagrande believes he may have a better mousetrap. He may be able to help you recycle at a lower cost, more effectively than what was done in the past. Well, of course, let's talk to them. Let's consult with them. Nothing mandatory about it, nothing in terms of you don't have to accept his recommendation. You just have to talk to him about it. Those are the only two changes from what you heard on the first reading. Other than that, the documents are identical.
I have a motion by Councilmember Zogby. Do I have any more? Do I have a second? Second by Councilwoman Casals Munoz. Can we please call the roll?
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. We're moving on to item 11D.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving a certain amendment to the exclusive franchise agreement for the collection of residential municipal solid waste granted to Progressive Waste Solutions of Florida Incorporated, a Delaware corporation, the predecessor in interest to Waste Connections of Florida Incorporated, a Delaware corporation, pursuant to Hialeah, Florida ordinance number 2015-37 adopted on August 11th, 2015, extending the agreement for a term beginning upon execution of the First Amendment to exclusive franchise agreement by the parties and ending on September 30th, 2027, with an automatic renewal term of 5 years, beginning on October 1st, 2027, and ending on September 30th, 2032, providing for subsequent renewals of the agreement at the option of the parties for a term of 1 year each, with a cumulative duration of all subsequent renewals not exceeding a total of 5 years. Updating the rates for residential collection services pursuant to formula set forth in sections 1718 of the First Amendment, amending the agreement to include mandatory contract provisions required by state law, amending the agreement to be consistent with current collection services and to establish new requirements, approving the First Amendment in substantial conformity with Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and made a part hereof, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk as attesting witness on behalf of the city to execute the First Amendment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
This item is on second reading and public hearing. Do we have anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on behalf of the item?
Good evening, council.
Good
My name is
evening.
Grant Smith, 401 East Los Olas Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. I'm an attorney representing Waste Connections. Thank you.
Do we have any council discussion on item 11D or anyone online?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Rodriguez and I have a second by Councilmember Zogby. Then we call the roll.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
She's not here.
she stepped away, Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. Moving on to item 11D1.
Proposed resolution approving an amendment to the agreement for the disposal of Class 1 waste awarded to Progressive Waste Solutions of Florida Incorporated, a Delaware corporation, the predecessor in interest to Waste Connections of Florida Incorporated, a Delaware corporation, on July 12th, 2016, as the responsive and responsible lowest bidder, extending the agreement for a term beginning upon execution of the First Amendment to agreement for the disposal of Class 1 waste between the parties and ending on September 30th, 2027, with an automatic renewal for a term of 5 years, beginning on October 1st, 2027, and ending on September 30th, 2032, providing for subsequent renewals of the agreement at the option of the parties for a term of 1 year each, with a cumulative duration of all subsequent renewals not exceeding a total of 5 years. Updating the service fee and CBI adjustments to the service fee pursuant to the formula set forth in sections 7, 8, and 13 of the First Amendment. Amending the agreement to include mandatory contract provisions required by state law, approving the amendment in substantial conformity with Exhibit 1 entitled First Amendment to Agreement for the Disposal of Class 1 Waste, which is attached hereto and made a part hereof. Authorizing the mayor and the city clerk as attesting witness on behalf of the city to execute the First Amendment and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is not on second readings, proposed resolution. Do we have any council discussion on it?
Motion.
I have a motion by Council Member Zogby and I have a second by Council Member Tumidor.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Motion carries, the item is approved. Ma'am, if I can just quickly record, Councilwoman Casal Munoz vote for item 11D.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving on now
Thank you
to
very much.
unfinished business.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
before-
sir.
Before we get to, I don't know if there's any unfinished business, new
Um,
business for that matter.
do we have any unfinished business? Any new business? Do you want to talk about new business that you have on Saturday?
It's been so long. No, it's, yeah. So what Council President Perez is talking about is we're having an event on Saturday, April 29th at 9:30 a.m. till 12 p.m. It's for the causes of child abuse prevention and autism acceptance. And we're gonna have a walk. So it's a walkathon and we're gonna have prizes and hopefully everyone will go out there. Yeah, Saturday, April 29th, 9:30 a.m. It's at Goodlet Park, 9:30 a.m. till 12 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you
Vice
for reminding
President.
me.
Okay,
Is there anyone else that has any unfinished business? No? Mayor?
all right, so, we'll be there on Saturday and also congratulate Councilwoman Casal Munoz on the event she did last week, which was a great turnout also. Council members, I just wanted to I think I was going through deja vu today, reminiscent of county business of what transpired today, okay? And we need to stay focused on the mission at hand that we have in front of us, which is to provide service for the residents of the city of Hialeah. And many of you have already had a chance, and I think there may be one or two that haven't yet, but all of you are going to be able to have a chance to meet with the financial team, go over numbers, and see the challenges that we have moving forward as a city. You know, our obligation is to the taxpayers of the city of Hialeah and to be able to provide the best we can as far as service is concerned. Today, you know, looking at a very preliminary study that we're seeing all for the first time, which I would obviously encourage all of you to dive into and start looking and analyzing. You know, we need to make decisions sound on math and logic and less on emotion, okay? A lot today was a lot of things being thrown at us and also in the receiving end simply for the sake of I don't know what, okay? And just, you know, just a reminder, okay, that we still need to do our due diligence. And if we decide this is, you know, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, then we walk away from it, okay? But, you know, we should never allow ourselves, to be intimidated by somebody or threatened by anybody, because that's, you know, that's just not going to jive, okay? And, you know, a lot was said today that I don't think we need to either stand here and listen to it or take it, but that's what we got elected for, okay? And I would just I wanted to say that because it is bothersome when you hear stuff being thrown at you repeatedly, like if we're somehow or another responsible for I don't know what transgressions people want to hold us for. We got to stay focused, okay? Let's look at numbers, let's analyze numbers, and let us make a decision based on that. Okay, because at some point, yeah, we're going to have to talk to our community and we're going to have to let our residents know what is it that we're doing and why would we be doing it. Okay. And why wouldn't we be doing it is also an answer, right? But I don't want to walk away from here thinking, you know, oh, we have an avalanche of people. We're not do this. Forget it. Because I think that would be irresponsible. Okay. Irresponsible on our part. And I would encourage all of you do a deep dive. Let's look at it. Our office is available to look at all the numbers. I'm gonna digest the numbers to get a good feel for it and what's hidden. There's a lot of unknowns, and then we can make a decision as we move forward and do what's in the best interest of the residents of the city of Hialeah. Because Lord knows, in order to fulfill our obligations, it's costing us more and more and more money. We need other revenue streams, because if we don't, and if we put ourselves in a corner, you're either looking at draconian cuts or you're looking at raising taxes. And I know neither one of those options is something that we want to confront ourselves with. So I didn't want to leave without saying that. Okay. So thank you all, and go Heat.
Thank you. Mayor,
Yeah, me too. If they said go eat.
are we gonna,
Eat. He said eat.
Right, I thought you said go eat.
like the Miami Heat? Look what's on her mind. Okay, we're moving on to zoning. Do we want to break or are we gonna keep on going, please? All right. Thank you, everyone that was here. Drive careful. Goodbye. Have a good night. Whoever's going to stay to speak on behalf of, thank you, Mayor, on a zoning item, if you could please stand up to be sworn in.
Las personas que quisieran prestar sus opiniones delante de esta junta, por favor, pónganse de pie y alcen la mano derecha.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. If so, say I do.
¿Usted jura o afirma que el testimonio que va a dar será la verdad, toda la verdad y únicamente la verdad y que Dios sea su testigo? Por favor, diga que sí si la respuesta es afirmativa.
Let the record reflect that all have responded in the affirmative.
En el
Thank
archivo
you.
público constará que todos han respondido afirmativamente.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone that stood up to be sworn in. We're gonna move on to our zoning and we are going to read LU1 prior to PZ1. And then we're going to move up LU2 and then continue with the zoning agenda. So let's read LU1 first, please.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending the future land use map from industrial district to transit-oriented development district. Property located at 1145 East 24th Street, Hialeah, zoned M1, industrial district, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you so much. You are here to speak on the item. Can I have your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Madam President. Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
Javier Zayas Bazan, 1110 Brickell, one of the co-owners of the project here with Christian DeGale, my partner, and our architect, Gustavo.
All right, thank you, sir. This item is on second reading. Would you like to discuss the item? Or is there anyone here that would like to talk about it or maybe online? We have a motion by Councilmember Rodriguez and I have a second by Councilmember Zogby. Can we please call the roll?
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo. He stepped away.
He's gone.
Oh, he has
left?
left the meeting.
Okay.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Tumidor. Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you. You have to stick around though for PZ1, right? Yeah, that was just land use. I know. It's been such a long night. I know you're dying to get home. I'm sorry about that, Mr. Zayas. All right, PZ1.
Might not be so easy.
He's like, bye. PZ1, please.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance rezoning property from M1 Industrial District to TOD Transit Oriented Development District. Properties located at 1140 East 25th Street, 1145 East 24th Street, Hialeah, zoned M1 Industrial District. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is also on second reading and public hearing. Anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on behalf of the item? Any council discussion?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Casals Munoz and I have a second by Councilmember Zogby. Can we please call the roll?
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you could go. Good night. Congratulations. Bye-bye. All right, moving on to item LU2.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending the future land use map from low density residential to medium density residential. Properties located at 455 West 25th Street and 555 West 25th Street, Hialeah zoned R31, multiple family district. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is also on second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on behalf of the item? Seeing there is none, is there any council member that would like to speak on behalf of this item? I have a motion by Council Member Tundidor and I have a second by Councilwoman Casals Munoz.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez? Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Have a good evening. You want me to give it to you? All right, moving on to item PZ3.
No. Is it? Yeah.
Does he skip it?
PZ2 is postponed.
PZ2 is postponed, yeah. So PZ3.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance granting a special use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-1630.8 to allow the expansion of the neighborhood business district overlay for the development of a 45 residential units with an area ranging from 504 to 711 square feet, where 850 square feet is the minimum required and only 10% of the units may have an area less than 850 square feet. Allow front setback of 0 feet for stoops encroaching into the front setback along East 10th Avenue where 10 feet built to line is required. And allow to waive the building mass and building frontage development standards, all contrary to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, sections 98-1630.2, 98-1630.3 subsections C and D, and 98-1630.3 subsection E1. Property located at 455 East 10th Avenue, Hialeah zoned M1 Industrial District. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you. This item is on second reading and public hearing. Do we have anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on behalf of this item?
Motion.
Any council discussion? No, I have a motion by Council Member Zogby and I have a second by Council Member Rodriguez. You know,
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
yeah,
Mr. Rodriguez? Mr. Tumidor?
he's not here.
He stepped away. Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz? Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. Moving on to PZ4.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving a final plat of West Avenue subdivision, accepting all dedication of avenues, streets, roads, and other public ways, together with all existing and future planting of trees. Property consisting of approximately 22,537 acres for tract A and 5.108 acres for tract B. Bounded on the north by West 76th Street, on the west by West 6th Avenue, on the south by West 71st Street and West 72nd Street, on the east by West 4th Avenue, zoned R33 multiple family district. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this item is on second reading. It's open for public discussion. Do we have it?
It's just that, I'm sorry, Ms. City Clerk, it's not 22,000 acres, it's 22.537 acres.
Oh, that's what the ordinance reflects
It was.
on PZ4. PZ4.
I'm pretty sure there's not.
It's supposed to be a
22,000
point.
acres out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to be a point.
So do we have any?
A motion.
Okay. Well, yeah, obviously. So we have a motion by Council Member Zogby and we have a second by Council Member Casals Munoz. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, the motion was by,
Council Member Zogby,
and the second,
Casals Munoz.
Ms. Perez is away.
Oh, wait,
Mr.
wait.
Rodriguez,
I was like,
Mr. Tumidor is also away. Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz. Ms. Garcia Robes.
yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved as amended.
Okay, moving on to PZ five.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving a final plat of Commerce Center at County Line, accepting all dedication of avenues, streets, roads, and other public ways, together with all existing and future planting of trees. Property consisting of approximately 13.54 acres, bounded on the north by the north line of the east half of Track 11, on the west by Northwest 102nd Avenue, on the south by Northwest 162nd Street, on the east by Northwest 99th Avenue, zoned BDH, Business Development District, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this item is on second reading. It's open for public discussion. Do we have? Okay. Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Rodriguez. We have a second. We have a second by Councilmember Gonzalez Munoz. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor is still away. Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz? Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
And Ms. Perez is still away. Motion carries. The item is approved.
Moving on to PZ seven.
First reading of proposed ordinance granting a variance permit to allow the expansion of a non-conforming use by allowing a 125% building footprint increase of an existing duplex approved in 1948. Approved front setback of 17.67 feet where 25 feet are required. Allow rear setback of 20 feet where 25 feet are required. And allow lot coverage of 31.3% where 30% is the maximum allowed. Subject to the condition that the property will be platted before the issuance of a certificate of occupancy and that the applicant will be responsible for the infrastructure upgrade that might be required for the proposed building expansion. Contrary to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, sections 98-545, 98-547, and 98-2056, subsection B2, property located at 501 East 59th Street, Hialeah, zoned R1, one family district. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
So we're on item PZ seven, which is on first reading. Do we have any council discussion on this or anyone that would like to present on the item?
Second on that.
So I have a motion by
evening.
Councilmember Rodriguez. Sorry,
Gonna oversell it?
Yes, I'm sorry, but there is a couple of things that I would like to discuss in as much as I appreciate the motion for the approval. My name is Frank De La Paz, 9361 Road, Miami, Florida. As you can see, this is first reading, and this is the meeting where we usually negotiate for things to go beautifully on second reading. Because if we try to do it on second reading, then, oh, we're in second reading, it's too late. This is a 1948 duplex. It was one of the first structure built in the whole neighborhood before the city of Hialeah had a zoning ordinance. The property was much larger at that time. The owner built a house to the east and another house to the north, and eventually sold them, and he kept the hard corner with the duplex, which when the city of Hialeah had its ordinance established, it became a legal non-conforming use. Here we are, a few years later, trying to remodel the duplex and expand it and make it into a nice new piece of property in Hialeah. At the time of the submittal, we started the whole process. And then Sony says, well, Frank, you should rezone to duplex to be properly baptized. That's my wording. And I say, sure, no problem. We submitted a rezoning application and a variance for the front setbacks and lot coverage. The front setbacks were the ones established by the original building footprint. The day before the zoning hearing, I get a call from the department saying, well, we rather not rezone because we don't want to establish a precedent for the rest of the neighbors that they have a duplex and they might want to have a duplex and you're going to be the only duplex in the neighborhood. And I have spoken to legal department and we rather go and to expand the legal non-conforming. I say, fine, you know, at the end of the day, it will still be a duplex. And with that regard, I want for the record, since this was originally a legal duplex that became illegal, and we don't have to be on the same situation 10, 20 years from now, I want for the record for second hearing that this is going to be a legal non-conforming use in perpetuity. And I have a problem with that word in case, so don't make me repeat it. Why? Because by being a legal non-conforming use, the city can turn around 20 years from now when the neighbors' houses, instead of being worth 500, they can be worth $1 million, and they start complaining to the city. We don't like that duplex there anymore. And you all can take one of the 4 options that as a government entity you might have and try attrition or amortize my investment and says, you know what, Frank, you got 20 years to get rid of your legal non-conforming and go back to be a single family house. By not having this in perpetuity, you create a hazard or a problem on permanent financing and even for insurance, because I'm going to still be a legal non-conforming, and some people may look at it differently as if I were a duplex. I don't mind continuing the legal non-conformity as long as the city agrees that it will be in perpetuity. That way, this what's happening today doesn't happen again 30, 40 years from now. That's number one. Secondly, the suggestion of a replat, and I'm pretty sure none of you are licensed realtors and have experience in real estate, is something that to me is totally necessary. The property was divided legally at that time. So if I'm forced to replat, all I'm going to be doing is baptizing this lot as lot 1, block 1, a ridiculous subdivision. It has no sense whatsoever. It's not something that the county will require of me. And I understand that the city suggested at the hearing that it should be replatted, but for what purposes? I don't see it. The 2 houses that were spin-off from the large lot were done correctly before the 74 or whatever the year was that it was set on stone. And it's not going to change anything regarding this duplex. Definitely, we have to do some infrastructure because we found out after we purchased the property that it was still in septic. So we already have a permit on hand to put a new sewage lateral. And we find out that the water was being provided through another property without easement. So we are putting new water lines on the site to service the property. And at the end of the day, it's going to be still a duplex, much nicer, worth a lot more. But I don't want it with that dagger that it can be taken away by any future council, because it is on the law. You can either demand to amortize it, you can do a taking, you gotta be crazy because you gotta pay me market price. But those things will still be there unless you agree to, at least in perpetuity, that it will be continued to be a duplex legal non-conforming for future councils not wanting to change it. That is outside of having a rezoning to duplex like we were first understood. And I agree with the city. The neighbors might say, well, if you got one zoning, we want it. Okay, I don't mind doing that, but I also have to look out for the future of the investment. I suggest that I don't need the replat. If I have to do the replat, that's fine. I don't think you should be holding me to the extent that I cannot finish remodeling the duplex and renting it out until I do a replat, because technically the replat doesn't make sense to me. But then again, after so many years coming to this council, and after what I have witnessed tonight, nothing makes sense to me anymore. But that's for discussion for another day. I'll be glad to answer any questions that anybody might have.
So,
Um, Yes, ma'am, you're
the
recognized.
item before us is to do the replan.
No, the item before me is it was modified, it was the
variance.
petition was a rezoning from R1 to R2 with variances. That was modified. The request of the department says, we don't want to give you R2 because we don't want to create the precedent of having R2 there. We suggest that you expand your legal non-conforming, which I agree to. And I prefer that if it's done in perpetuity, that way no other future councils can come back and says, you know what, now we no longer want you to keep a duplex there, which you all have the right to do it. Okay, it can happen. It barely ever does happen, but you have the right to do it. That's one of the items that is there, besides the variances for the setback, which is to legalize the original footprint. And the suggestion of a replat was thrown in the pot, which to me, and I respect the director dearly, but it makes no sense to me to go through that expense for something that is going to be, if you look at the neighborhood, there is not more than 2% properties that have been platted in that neighborhood. If you look out the whole neighborhood, it's all exactly like this. This was the first house in the neighborhood, and the rest of the neighborhood was developed starting in 52 by the west 50 feet of the north 100 or whatever, because it was flat, and that's the way it was developed between 52 to 56. So I'll be the basically the only platted lot on a new plat that is going to be one lot, and ain't going to change anything except, you know, the bottom line. Obviously, and as a capitalist, I have to defend it.
Councilwoman, do you have further question? Would you?
For Lorena is, or actually for Deborah. Deborah, can we leave it with the non-conforming?
The Miami-Dade County has an ordinance when you subdivide property, you should replat the property. If this property would have been the same since 1948, we wouldn't have asked for that. But the property was sold in different pieces, informally subdivided in 2000, here I have it. In different years, but in 1988, 2006, and 2021. And the county plat ordinance already was in place, and our plat ordinance was in place. That's why he needs to subdivide the property with a lot, with replatting the property. Especially
Subdivide the property, you mean?
Subdivide with replat the property. That's what he should have done that before selling the other parcels. Instead of subdividing them with a legal description, they should have come when the owner was one owner of the big property and replat it into 3 other properties. The other 2 properties are as they were developed many years ago. When they come to redevelop in the future, we will ask them also to replat the property. This is the one before us. This is the one we are considering. And by the county, it's mandatory, and by our code to subdivide the property through a plat.
If I may, to share to the city attorney, the property you consider that needs to meet the requirement of the new county ordinance at the time that they were sold or at the time that they were subdivided? They were subdivided in 67 and 72 before the new code.
They were
subdivided
when they were sold, and they were sold in 1988, in 2006, and 2021. It was subdivided originally like the big parcel when you say 1948. If that was the case, and that is a plat exception for the county, if the property, you don't touch the property and it's the same except for taking for right of way, you don't have to plat. But if you subdivided the property after 1952, then you have to come and replat the property.
How many lots is this property?
Okay. If I may, back again to Ms. Lorena. The property originally was a large parcel. The ownership took out a parcel, did a built out parcel to the east in 67.
To
and
the
built-
east, okay.
And built a house, 515. East 59th Street. That was done in 67. It's my point of view that at that time is when the property was subdivided. Now, when the actual deed was changed and they issue a new deed to a new owner. It's my understanding that it was subdivided when that new structure was built to the east, a new folio was given, a new address was given to the house. And the same occurred to the north, when a new folio was given, a new address was given, a new building permit was given to the house to the north in 72. When Mr. Hayward came out in 74, before he retired, and he forced the county and everybody else to most definitely subdivide from here on, that was on 74. But up to that point, that property was divided legally into 3 lots with 3 structures. And the owners decided to sell them at different times. I have no control on that. Now, I'm expanding, definitely, yes, I'm expanding the duplex and I'm remodeling the duplex. I should not be burdened with replatting something that will serve absolutely no purpose and that is not required even by the county. Now, if it is required by the county, and Ms. Lorena Bravo tells me it is a requirement of that replat, I will research it further and will continue moving forward and rebuilding this property. But
Lorena, you're looking into it now?
Yeah, I think I have to understand the facts. We do
Lorena,
have,
put the microphone down so they could hear.
I think I have to understand the specifics of the dates he's talking about and when these additional homes were built and subsequently sold.
So why don't we table the item?
It is in my report and the subdivision happened after 1958. If it would have happened before 1958, then he didn't need to replat. But these two.
Why
homes were-
1958 instead of
Because
74?
That's the date, 1958 is the date when the county.
Sorry,
the ordinance.
When the county adopted the platting ordinance.
That's when the ordinance came into effect.
that was modified several times later, and then to be 58 and to 74, the county did allow a great deal of latitude into subdivisions. Now, the property was subdivided as of 72.
We have a savings provision for, and I have to think about, and look at the map because we have a savings provision that talks about February 26, 1974. But prior to 1974, he must have had a legally subdivided property. I think that's the question. If you had a legally subdivided, platting reserves the or gives you the ability to subdivide land that meets your lot size dimensions and make sure that you can provide all the required services, that it's not landlocked, that you're going to have the ability to provide, that there are roadways, that there are access ways, that there are utility easements to provide services through. But knowing that there were properties that were subdivided prior to the application of the subdivision requirement, there were basically grandfathering provisions.
Right.
For those lots that were smaller than the minimum lot size that you established subsequent to that, which was 75-foot frontage, 100-foot depth, 7,500 square feet in area. I just have to look at.
And I don't
what's
mind, we
discussed.
can
So
move
let's table
forward
the
and
item.
We have a motion to approve and a second on the item. Rodriguez and second by Zogby.
for the sake of,
I seconded it.
Before Mr. De La Paz.
Oh, yeah. But as it
excuse me.
was, but now. with the as
Before,
it's, yeah.
and all it comes down to money, okay? The fact that is that we have a duplex that we would like to finish remodeling and put it back in the market as a rental, which is greatly needed. It's increasing the neighborhood and the tax base. I just don't want to be imposed with limitations on the future because we have them now that will impose. We never thought that the city would come out with this kind of limitations now, that you have to rezone to continue to have a grandfather. So that's why I agreed to the rezone, so we don't have the issue of ever again being called a duplex or not a duplex.
Okay,
I understood the city position that they don't want the neighbors to think that now we have a duplex, we all want duplex. So I will agree to the continuity of the legal non-conforming of a duplex on the property for perpetuity, because that's the only way that
okay, so
that we can have a decent finance and insurance forever. The reason of the platting, I can live with it if I'm allowed to continue my work and obtain my replat in X number of time. I don't think it's fair to say you cannot occupy the property until it's replat and be told that the evening before the planning and zoning hearing, because replat is going to take me 1 year. And that's not fair. Let's face
Frank,
it.
okay, through the chair for a second. So we have a first and a second, I understand.
He can withdraw his motion.
If he could withdraw his motion, can we table the item so Lorena could do a little bit of research? So see if what Frank wants to do with the property, leave it in the manner that it is. Let Lorena do the due diligence, let her find out if we could continue this way without having to replat it. So if we could table the item, if you would withdraw your motion.
Yeah. And and like I said, I didn't mind having to explain things.
No, not
because I
again,
think
not
it's
again.
only fair.
Oh, you did a great job. So if you withdrew your motion. So I motion to table the item
To next meeting.
Until the next meeting.
until the next meeting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, I'll
time enough?
rescind. and second
Councilman
that.
Rodriguez and Councilmember Zogby then withdraw their motion. And Councilwoman Casals Munoz wants to table the item till what date?
May
Next meeting?
9th, May
May
9th,
9th?
2023.
2023. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second,
I have a second by Councilmember Zogby. Can we call the roll?
Mr. Zogby,
yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robis.
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez. Motion carries. The item is tabled until May 9th, 2023.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to item PZ 8.
Ma'am, for the record, Councilman Tumidor has left the meeting, and also if we can record your vote when you were away for item PZ 4, please,
Yes.
and
PZ
item PZ 5.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, PZ 8.
First reading of proposed ordinance granting a variance permit to allow 36.9% lot coverage where 30% is the maximum allowed. Allow 18 feet rear setback where 20 feet is the minimum required, and allow 3.25 feet south side setback where 5 feet 1 inch are required for legalization of additions built without the benefit of a building permit. Contra to City of Hialeah, Florida ordinance number 84-170 that allows single-family type units on property zoned R35, multiple family district, and contra to sections 98-591 and 98-2056 subsection B. Property located at 6277 West 22nd Lane, Hialeah, zoned R35, multiple family district. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is on first reading. Do we have anyone in council chambers to speak on behalf of the item? No? Do we have any council discussion?
Through the chair,
Yes, ma'am.
have you spoken to the owner, Leon? On PZ 7? I mean, PZ 8?
No, I think she didn't even come to the planning and zoning board. And we said, since it's simple, let's move it to city council, but no, I haven't spoken with her.
Does she know that there's conditions and what the conditions are? Did she approve the conditions that you had as as recommendations? Because if she didn't come to the planning and zoning, maybe she doesn't know the conditions before we go forward. And maybe we should table the item.
If there's no one here on the item, I would say I would feel comfortable tabling it.
You think, okay, so motion to table.
Motion to table by Councilwoman Gonzalez Munoz. Do I have a second?
Ma'am, we would need to table this item until May twenty-third because second reading needs to be re-advertised and there's not sufficient time for May 9th. So it would need to be for May twenty-third.
May 23rd it is. She's not here.
All right,
Second on that
thank you.
for May twenty-third.
Thank you.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robis?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez? Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is tabled until May twenty-third, 2023.
All right. Thank you. We're moving on to final decisions, FD1.
Proposed resolution approving the final decision of the Planning and Zoning Board, decision number 2023-05, granting an adjustment on the property located at 51 East 60th Street, Hialeah, zoned R1 one family district, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This is recommendation for approval with conditions. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Yes. Hi. Name and address for the record,
Good evening.
please.
15755 Bunch Park, Miami, Florida.
Okay, thank you. And your name?
Manuel Rivera.
Thank you, Mr. Rivero. Would you like to speak on this item?
Yes, we requested a construction of a terrace pergola in the backyard of the patio. The zoning board approved the construction with conditions that we reduce the pervious areas in the patio. Well, the impervious, I'm sorry. Yeah, that we increase the pervious areas in the property. So we're ready to proceed with the recommendations of the zoning board if you guys allow us to.
To increase by 30%? Is that what we asked?
To comply with the 30.
Got it. And you agree with that?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. Do we have a motion on this item or any discussion? I have a motion by Councilwoman Casals Munoz and a second by Councilmember Zogby. Can we please call the roll?
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robis?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Yes. Have a good night. FD2.
Proposed resolution approving the final decision of the Planning and Zoning Board, decision number 2023-06, granting an adjustment on the property located at 8030 West 15th Court, Hialeah, zoned R1 one family district.
Okay. So this was approved with the recommendation of conditions. Do we have anybody here to speak on this item?
Through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Deborah, have you spoken with Anna or Luisa Sanchez?
There's supposed to be a lobbyist here. Mario.
Yeah, but there are no conditions here. Approve 14.7 rear setback for a building width of 11.78 feet.
No, this one is the entrance, the terrace, converted into a living room with a bathroom to be
When they
removed.
came to the planning and zoning board and they agreed with the condition.
This is FD2, right?
FD2.
FD2, yes,
They agreed with it?
yes, they
Okay,
agreed.
did they tell you they want to come in today or?
Well, I don't know. It's 2 meetings back because final decisions are 2 meetings back. Maybe they forget. It's
Okay.
delayed.
Were they here last week?
No, they came, the final decisions come to zoning and then don't come to the following council
Right.
meeting. They have, it's 2 meetings. So maybe they forgot. I really don't know.
You know,
Maybe they got scared today.
do we table the item or do we,
Ready to motion it.
motion to approve? Motion by Council Member Zogby and a second by Councilwoman Casals Munoz. You told her this meeting was.
For the record, my staff advised them that today was a meeting.
Oh, okay. So they did speak to them.
I'm sorry, who was the motion to approve? Made by Zogby?
Motion to approve.
The same people? No. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Zogby and then.
Ms. Garcia Robis?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Okay,
Mhm.
moving on. LU3, please. Land use
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending the future land use map from industrial and office MDC district to industrial district. Property located at 11190 West 40th Avenue, Hialeah, zoned A agricultural MDC designation district. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this item is on second reading and public hearing. Do we have any council discussion or anyone that would like to speak on behalf of the item?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilwoman
Second.
Casals Munoz,
I'm sorry.
and I have a second by Councilmember Zaghi.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez? Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Night.
you. Have a good evening, sir. And that concludes our meeting. We're not gonna. All right. LU 4, please.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending the future land use map from low-density residential district to commercial district. Property located at 383 West 35th Street, Hialeah, zoned R2, 1 and 2 family residential district. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is on second reading and public hearing. Do we have anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak on behalf of this item?
I've got a 60-slide presentation I'd like to.
Did you? But this is on second reading. You didn't do that on April 11th?
Motion. It's an amended presentation.
Do we have anyone that would like to council discussion?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilmember Zogby and I have a second by who's Vice President Garcia Robles. Yeah.
Mr.
Too many last names.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you very
So
much.
I have a motion to conclude our meeting.
Motion.
Oh, everybody, motion to conclude. We're ending at 10:23. Next meeting is
May 9th, 2020.